What up, Doe? One Pride. This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where one pride goes worldwide. My name is Antony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined by Ashley Soden, and we are here for but one thing. We are here to talk about the Detroit Lions beatdown of the Baltimore Ravens in front of 22.8 million people worldwide. One of the top 4 viewed Monday Night Football since 2006, as the Detroit Lions actually said to the entire world, "Are you not entertained?"
Yeah, exactly. And it was kind of funny. Obviously, we started up the stream, and it was just the guys were doing all their picks, and everyone was, saying, "Oh, no disrespect to the Lions, but I'm going with the Ravens here." And then pretty much instantly after the game, the W admin we have puts out a TCU-style meme edit of all of them. Respect to Air Corgi, though. You got it correct, my sir. That is one dog you can trust.
Exactly, it is. So, yes, we are here today to talk Lions at Ravens, the review show, aptly named No Action Jackson. We are getting the good ones again. I love that film, but I was able to put that in this evening because we kept Lamar quiet. We're going to go drive straight down into this. Don't say we don't love you, because it is 10 past midnight here, and we decided to do this stream about 30 minutes ago when I got home from work. Matt has chose the worst time in the world to go to Montenegro. We're on a short week. We've got this review to do. I've got a college football podcast to do, which is coming tomorrow. We have the Cleveland preview to do. I was going to do a college football watch along this weekend. Then we've got the live stream for the Cleveland Browns game, and then we've got the Cleveland Browns review. So we needed to fit this in at some point, and doing it today is going to take a little bit off my schedule. So sorry it was at short notice, but don't say we don't love you. We're here at midnight talking Lions with you all. So hope you're all well. I will dive into the chat in a moment. Let's just get the housekeeping out of the way and into this. Roar of the Lions UK Discord. If you want in, let us know, and Ash will fire you across a link for it, because he's got the time to do that. I've got too much on here, but if you want in, let us know. We'll fire across a link. College football podcast, as I mentioned, me and Rye will be on tomorrow. I've been at work today, so we weren't able to set it up in time. So we're going to do it tomorrow. We're going to be talking about week 4. Oh my God, what week are we on? We're on week 4's results. We're going to be talking about, and we're going to be talking about week 5. A stacked slate coming up this weekend, which is going to be absolutely mouth-watering. So join us for that tomorrow. Don't forget to like and sub to everything: Twitch, YouTube, all that good sort of stuff. We're like 20 subs away from 2,000 on YouTube. It's very symbolic. It's a very small number, I know, but for us it means a lot. So help push us that final little bit of the way to 2,000. We appreciate all of you who do that. We're part of Lions Nation Unite as well, so please help support Herman Moore's project as well, of which we are a part of. We're an affiliate on Twitch, although we're not streaming on Twitch. I apologise, but my computer can only handle so much, so I'm just doing YouTube to be safe, so we can get these shows out. But yeah, we're a Twitch affiliate. We've got a tip jar. We're monetized on YouTube, all that good sort of stuff. So if you want to help us that way, great. But first and foremost, we just love having you all in the building, and we've got the feedback form as well. So any questions you have, or any things you want us to change on the pod, any suggestions, whack them in there and let us know. Or just let us know in the chat on the stream. Right, let's just give a quick shout out to people who are in with us this evening. I've seen Wizard of War is in the building. Him and Ash are talking about illegal touching. I mean, Christ, we've not even got on stream yet. It's one of my most hated penalties, the illegal contact penalty, but just for laughs I call it illegal touching. I think we should do that, although Ash's illegal hand usage, yeah, Ash, good one there. That's not going to be taken out of context in any way, shape or form. But yes, illegal contact penalties need to be banned or renamed to something much better. But yeah, I hope you're doing well, Wizard of War. It goes, on Tuesday morning, one of the pundits said halfway through the 18-play drive, the O-line switched from zone blocking scheme to man, and after that the run game exploded. Did you see the same? We will answer that in a little bit, because we've put this together at the very last moment, but we will answer your question there. One Pride 40 is in the building as well. QB Spies, absolutely gorgeous. Yes, they were. Let's just go through some very quick news, then we'll talk about the game itself. And we're just going to go through the waiver wire transactions and the injuries list first, just to get that all out the way. So in terms of transactions on the roster, Defensive end Marcus Davenport has been placed on IR shock horror for his pec injury. It is not believed to be season-ending. Au contraire, it is believed that he will only be for 4 games and he will likely be back very quickly after, at worst, potentially 5 games, but still not good for him when he hasn't played a lot of football in the last few years. Tight end Ross Dwelly was elevated from the practice squad for the game, and then today he was signed to the active roster, so welcome to the roster, Ross Dwelly. And defensive lineman Quinton Jefferson was signed to the practice squad today. He came in for a trial and obviously did enough. He's a versatile depth piece, similarly positional versatility to Joshua Pascal, who is not expected to be back with us until some way through October, I believe. And then on the injury front, Sione Varkey suffered a groin injury during the game on Monday. It wasn't estimated, did not practice today. Obviously, short week, so they've just done walkthroughs today. But per Detroit Sports Podcast, they say he's ready to play every week, so hopefully it's nothing too serious there for him. Special teamer / safety Daniel Thomas suffered a broken forearm during the Ravens game. He had surgery on it today, per Dave Burkett. Unsure of how long he will be out with the injury, but you assume surgery. He's going to be out for the foreseeable future. Defensive end Al-Qadim Mohammed, star of Monday Night Football, seemingly suffering from a knee injury during the game. He wasn't estimated, did not practice today, although he expects to play against the Browns on Sunday per Justin Rogers, so probably just, taking it easy with him. Linebacker Jack Campbell took a cleat to the face during Branch's near interception. He was spraying blood during the game whilst making the defensive calls. He looked like he was in the Predator movie, but that made him look all the more intimidating. He's had 8 to 9 stitches in his face to help it heal. Linebacker Derek Barnes was listed as a light participant today with a knee injury. Cornerback DJ Reed was listed as full participation with cramping. A lot to go through there, but before current injuries, obviously Ash Davenport, that is not ideal. 4 weeks out, we're still waiting for Pascal to come back. Al-Qadim's banged up a little bit, but as we say, when one door closes, another opens, and Al-Qadim has certainly taken the door that's opened for him in Davenport's absence.
He definitely has. They're slightly different in terms of their body, so AQ is obviously a bit lighter, being a former outside linebacker, but he's playing that kind of set the edge, hold kind of thing, and then squeeze role pretty well, obviously, on very limited snaps, because he didn't even come onto the field until about halfway through our third defensive drive. He made the absolute most of it. He's up there for pressure percentage and all that in the league, and as he said in his post-game speech when he got the game ball this time last year, he was sitting on the couch. He's making the most of this very opportunity, similar to a good old friend and friend of the show in inverted commas, John Kaminsky, back when we got him. Similar kind of impacts, and if we can get that, or the year that we got out Charles Harris, that kind of splashy kind of guy who has a good season and then is nice and cheap, and then maybe either goes to pastures green or we can keep him around as a rotational piece, I think he'd be very happy with that. He fits what we want from the from players, even though certain people, Joe Buck, were saying that he does not have an ounce of talent, it's all effort. He does have talent in there, because you can't sack Lamar Jackson. Is one of the most agile QBs ever. I think he does. He holds the career rushing yards record for QB in the NFL, so hard to bring down. And Caleb Williams is no slouch either. It's not like he's going up against Jared Goff and Joe Flacco and he has less sacks. Micah. So I'm very happy for AQ to be sort of taking the impact, and then hopefully Davenport is back when he's supposed to be, which is around the bye, and then we've got a nice sort of edge rotation there, especially if we can get Hassani back into that, and with Pascal hopefully coming back by then, and that we'll have a nice little stable that we can start rotating through and keeping these guys fresh. They can make the plays. And then same with Dwelly. I know he didn't play too much on offense. Yes, Monday it was mostly on special teams. It's a guy that's been there, done that in the league. This is the guy that the 49ers signed after we sniped Brock Wright off them with the whole tender situation a couple of years ago. So we know we can block and do what it needs to do. So he's a good little depth piece. And same with Jefferson. Like as I said, similar positional versatility to Pascal. Can play, mostly will play that sort of close end spot, but can slide inside and passing downs, etc. I know it's put the fear of God into some people because obviously signing him on a day where suddenly a new star edge rusher that needs a partner is out with is a DMP with a knee injury did put the frightness on people, but also he was with the Browns last year. I think this is a starting to play the game of, oh yeah, and the week we're playing a team, let's bring in someone who knows their scheme and get those little insights to help us plan. It might just be something like that. And then with the injuries, yeah, hope Jack Campbell gets a nice little scar so he can really embrace the line sort of within him. I know he's made the joke that he's a bit embarrassed because he's the first ever person in his family to have to go to a plastic surgeon. So hopefully he can get over that and get back to everything. And the only thing is, the big loss is Daniel Thomas. I know he's a sort of under the radar. He's starting as a gunner for us. He broke his hand in week 1, came back and played last week, and then on Monday, now he's broke his forearm. Probably will be out indefinitely. Silver lining though, versatile safety who plays a lot of special teams and maybe can come back cheap. In Kennelly, you're back up, my friend.
I thought you were about to say the WH word there. I'm just like, no. He's on. Didn't you see? I put it on Discord for you on Monday afternoon. He's on IR. He got himself hurt, so the Commanders replaced him with Darnell Savage.
Oh. Somehow they managed to find a downgrade in your eyes from the Lord and Savior Will Harris. How can that be?
Oh my, what will they do? I think with Jefferson in his case of the D-line, we still needed a replacement for Davenport. I think people have forgotten that. We didn't really bring in a replacement for Davenport sans the game because we didn't know he was going to IR. So, hopefully he's going to be in for Davenport rather than him being in for Al-Qadim Mohammed. But yeah, AQM coming out is big. If he can start taking 30, 40, 50% of those snaps so that Pascal and Davenport, both coming back off injuries, can rotate in and not have to take an above average level of snaps because we ain't got no one there, that solves a whole smorgasbord of problems for us. So we will see. But yeah, like I say, for the most part, and we say this with hands touched to wood right here, we're all right with injuries right now. It's the special teamers who all seem to be going down and the practice squatters who also seem to be going down. There seems to be an inordinate amount of the special teamers and the guys we elevate from the practice squad suddenly been lost for the season. But if you're going to lose anybody, it's harsh to say, but I'd rather it be them than the main stars. Yeah. But that's everything that has gone off so far transactional wise. Nothing too much newsy wise there. So we're going to dive straight down into the game. And obviously Monday Night Football, what a great feeling this was. So as we mentioned already, Monday Night Football, it drew in, what were we at, 22.8 million viewers. It is a top 4 audience amongst all ESPN Monday Night Football games since 2006. That is more than 340 regular season games. That is top 4. I mean, for us not having a Super Bowl window or, not wanting to, not being good without Ben Johnson or anything, Ash, I mean, people sure still do want to watch this team.
Mm-hmm. They really do, yeah. It obviously does help that, in a way, not to disparage us, but it was one of Baltimore's fancy uniform nights, darkness there and nothing more, obviously coming from the famous Poe by Edgar Allan Poe, etc., etc. But we're still a draw, even, when we have a shitty week 1. And, it's the Lions, had a revenge game against the Ben Johnson. People are still interested in us because we've got those stars now. You've got, obviously, it'll probably be mentioned on his podcast. It started with Patrick Sustained, but you've got Jameson Williams, his brother, calling out TA for being bad. And you've got Aiden Hutchinson, is he going to be back as a defensive player? And you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who everyone and their mothers will now know if you have anything to do with the NFL because the podcast he does with Equinemius and the star he is. Jameer Gibbs is one of the most explosive athletes in the game. We've got all these stars now and people want to see us even when we're sort of in the doldrums. People want to hate watch us. We're in that position that the Philadelphia Eagles have been in, the Patriots have been in, the Chiefs are in, where because we're that good, people want to see us fail, so they tune into these kind of games to see if we crumble. And then we put up an absolute show for them.
Yeah, absolutely, we did. I know a lot of people watch Baltimore, but yeah, they come to watch us as well. And what a game they were treated to. Just a shout out to everyone who's starting to join us again. This was very hastily arranged at the last minute because of all the stuff we've got coming up. RJ Graham is in the building. Hope you're doing well. PK Jr. is in the building. He says he was watching DLP, but he's come to hang with his favourite Brits with Grits. Hey, we appreciate it. And sorry we've interrupted the DLP for you. We try and not tread on the toes of other podcasts. But again, with so many shows for us to do this week, we had to fit this in. And this was the only time. Aaron S is in the building. He says, you guy here, Dan, said we will be seeing Amik more instead of Arnold. Thoughts on that? We'll get to that in a bit, probably when we talk about our players ups and downs and stuff like that, but we will get there. Patrick Svek is in the building, thank you. Mile Marker is in the building as well. Hope you are all doing well. I will get through your comments as we go along, but we'll just do the breakdown of this. So the box score, or well, I'll do the overall thing and we'll go on to the box score. So, you know, tremendous start to this game for both teams. Opening touchdowns for both sides. Lions got the ball first in this game and they just casually knock out an 11-play, 67-yard drive, which takes nearly 6 minutes and ends with a Jahmyr Gibbs 1-yard touchdown run. Jar Money on the money early in this game, but the Ravens kind of put any of that to bed about whether they were going to be intimidated or not. It took just 6 plays to go 80 yards and barely 3.5 minutes for King Derrick Henry to respond in kind. 28-yard touchdown rush in which pretty much every Lions player got pancaked on the run. Not the prettiest play in the world, but both teams striking early. Both teams then flaming out. The Lions went 3 plays, 1 yard or minus 1 yard, and they had to punt away. But then the Ravens themselves went 3 plays, 7 yards, and punted away themselves, and that led to the drive of the game for the Detroit Lions. 18 plays, 98 yards, 10 minutes, 48 seconds. The longest drive of the season, eclipsing what the Bears did last week, which made it even sweeter. And David Montgomery with his first tutty of the day for the Lions. And then the Lions defense got a stop. They turned over the Ravens on downs. They went 8 plays, 31 yards, took up over 4.5 minutes. The Lions were able to turn them over. Unfortunately then, a very bad drive, 3 plays, 5 yards, took barely 30 seconds when they just started throwing the ball a lot, which was kind of inexplicable. The one bad drive pretty much they had all game, they punted it away and the Ravens responded in kind. 4 plays, 49 yards after a big return. Touchdown to take the lead. That was Rashad Bateman, who had a little bit of a day against us. It was a simple 3-yard touchdown pass from him. Lions had a chance to take the lead before the half, but they had to move the ball quickly. They went 4 plays, 20 yards. Jack Bates had to nail one in. What was it, 67 yards in the end? It was a pretty big one that he missed. It had
67.
Yeah, 67 yards. It had the distance on it. He just shanked it a tiny little bit to the left. I mean, nothing really you can do about that. He had the legs though, and they said they're going to trust him to carry on that from the future. But 14 all at the half. Lions completely dominated time of possession. But the Ravens came out with the ball in the second half. They put together their best drive, probably, of the game. It went 11 plays. It went 73 yards. It went over 6 minutes. Gave their defense some much-needed rest. And Mark Andrews, who Ash left on his fantasy bench this week, therefore cursing us, had his first touchdown of the day. It was a 14-yard touchdown pass from Lamar Jackson. And the Lions, down 7 on the road. You wondered how they would respond. And they responded pretty damn well. It was a 7-play drive. It went 60 yards, took 3.5 minutes, hit back instantly. Amon-Ra St. Brown. It was an 18-yard touchdown pass from Jared Goff, who lit up Monday Night Football. And from there, the Lions really went to town on a tired defense. Ravens punted. They had 3 plays. They didn't make a single yard. Took 1.5 minutes off the clock. Lions got the ball back. Drove full field again this time. 7 plays, 95 yards. 2 90-plus touchdown drives in this game. And they were able to put it away. That one went to Jahmyr Gibbs. That was a 4-yard rushing touchdown from him. Ravens responded with a field goal, but again, it was just a long, disjointed drive. 10 plays, 49 yards, took over 5 minutes off the clock. Means the Lions are winning 28-24. Lions then punt. You fear the worst. 4-point lead. Then Aiden Hutchinson steps up with a big play, punching the ball out of Derrick Henry's hands. Third fumble in a row from the King, able to turn it round in good position. The Lions can't fully take advantage of it. They get a field goal in there, but then they force the Ravens to punt again. Again, 3 plays, 1 yard, going absolutely nowhere. And then the Lions just put this one to bed. 7 play, 70-yard drive. Final touchdown of the game for the Lions going to David Montgomery, a beautiful 31-yard rushing touchdown in which Jameson Williams blocked his ass off. Only left 1:42 on the clock. Ravens down 2 scores. They did get a touchdown back. Mark Andrews had a 27-yard touchdown pass from Lamar Jackson. They tried a 2-pointer, which failed, and the Lions recovered the onside kick, winning 38-30. And Ash, a kind of game which really, ensconces what this Lions team is about. Absolute domination of time of possession in the first half. Although the level, we said time of possession was key. I think we were about 19 minutes in the first half.
Yeah.
Wore that Baltimore defense out, and yes, you go in at the half level. Yes, you give up the opening drive touchdown there, but from that point onwards, that Ravens offense is quite clearly cold. The Lions defense is fully rested. The offense is rested, can go to work. And this second half was just a sheer dismantling of what is a very good Baltimore team. But again, as a result of just us running them over, wearing them down, playing Detroit grit football, and they eventually broke. It's what we do best. And this is one of the most high-profile examples of us doing this to a team.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is, I know loads of the podcasts who've reviewed it since the game have put it up there with obviously the Chiefs game from week 1 a couple of years ago where we went into Arrowhead when they were raising the bar and putting the beat down on them. I sort of beat down on the Rams that we did that year as well. Was it that year? Yeah, that year where they came in first ever time we played in the playoffs for a while and we just put the beat down on them. It was close, but we beat them there. It is that kind of performance that no one really was expecting. Like even me, I put my hands up. I did predict the Ravens to win, as did loads of people, I think. Just because on balance of probabilities, we were more likely to make the mistakes. We've seen what happened in week 1. But yeah, we put together the kind of performance we needed to. We saw weakness with them. We've obviously Justin Madubuike out and, Maddie Madubuike is now known, and Carl Van Noy, who is their best edge rusher in terms of pass rush and run defense. We saw weakness. We went for it because they've got a damn good secondary, even though Amon-Ra had his, JMO had his on the first drive. Laporte had some really key third down conversions. We saw the weakness was their run defense, and we just pounded it. There was a couple of bad plays in there, so I know on that first drive, there was a really bad run by Gibbs where he should have just, he does what he does a lot where he turns a loss of 2 yards into a loss of 7 because he tries to do too much. But we sort of saw that, put Monty in, he started getting his, and we just wore them down. And then when it got to the second half, that's when they're so tired and their linebackers are just so out of it that suddenly, Monty, who, despite, him saying on the St. Brown podcast, he doesn't want to be known as a power back, he's a running back, he can do it all. Even he managed to pull up like a 72-yard touchdown, massive run, and it should have been a touchdown, but he was too busy checking where the defender was on the TV screen to actually keep the burners on. This is out of his own words. Listens to St. Brown podcast, which is a collection of it. It's very funny. But yeah, we did everything we needed to do. We even did a couple of trick plays just because, we joked about it on the pre-game. At least I did, about the flea flicker that the Bears pulled out against the Cowboys. Johnny Morton was like, okay, so we put the beat down on Ben. Let me show you how to do proper trick plays. And obviously you mentioned the Jameer Gibbs rushing touchdown that was a sort of rugby-style play where it was Goff to St. Brown to Gibbs on a speed option kind of thing. That was a good trick play. The sort of one where Goff throws it to Monty on a screen and then Monty throws it back to him and then we hit Amon-Ra on the corner route. We did just enough to keep the game going, keep the time of possession going, capitalise as much as we can on their mistakes when we can, when they give us big plays and that. and to win the respect of everyone. Because as I mentioned earlier, out of all like the major publications, only one person predicted the Lions to win, and that was Nick Shuck for NFL.com. Everyone else had the Ravens, and we showed them that we should have respect. We're not just a Ben Johnson team. We're not just an Aaron Glenn team. This is a Dan Campbell team. John Morton's a good offensive coordinator. No, obviously the stuff with the Jets happened in 2017, but he actually knows what he's doing when he's got players. He knows how to. He can actually do stuff. He can get a good offense. And Calvin Shepherd, I mean, we'll probably come onto the defense in a bit. What a game to prove that you were the right to hire here. We shouldn't have gone for, Dallas Allen or Steve Wilkes, someone like that who was poking around that we could have got in. We made the right decision by promoting Faroon and bringing Shep in. And hell, I've already had people have calls for it. If and when Dan needs to move on, if he gets to, let's say, the Texas A&M coach, who I should remember off the top of my head because he used to be the Duke head coach, obviously, Mike Elko. If he gets a bigger job or something happens and Dan gets that job, give the head coaching job to Shep. He's got the passion. He knows what he's doing in terms of keeping that going, and he's got the defensive now. He's still be able to be a play caller there, and it's seemingly grooming Sean Dion Hamilton to take over some of the stuff that he was doing. Conveyor belt. That's what we need. We need to be like the Chiefs, who they always have their offensive coordinators hired to be head coaches. Looking at you, Matt Nagy, and they're able to get someone in from within. Hell, Baltimore, looking at the guys we just played, they had their DC hired a couple of years ago, Mike McDonald, to be the Seattle head coach. What do? They promote their linebackers coach, Zach Orr, and he's their defensive coordinator, and they don't miss a beat. That's the kind of team we are now.
I'd just like to say somebody else predicted a victory over the Ravens here as well, so Nick Shuck doesn't get all the love here. But I know I'm not a national media analyst, but
yeah, that was my point. Yeah,
I love that. Thanks, big shout out to everyone who's dropping in the building with us. I think, hang on, I lost the comment. It's just moved off my screen. But Patrick Svett goes, "What a great game! Thankful to have such a mediocre, second-rate quarterback like Jared Goff. Aren't we all?" Aren't we all? Like, exactly. If this is what mediocre is, sign me up for mediocre. William Thomason is in the building. Hope you are doing well. I converse with you on Twitter a lot, so good to see you in the chat. He goes, hello all, glad to catch you live. Corey Patterson goes, our UK brothers. Lisa De Lorenzo is in the building. Duncan Stewart is in the building. Hope you are all great. So yeah, this was tremendous. Like I say, this is Lions football to a T. Break your opponent down, even if they're still in the game, like we did with the Bears. They hung around for a bit, and eventually you break them. And someone pointed out in the comments earlier, like pretty much the entire Ravens D-line did not practice today, or was slated to not to. Sounds like someone got their ass kicked on Monday, and a lot of them are all beaten and banged up, and no wonder with the job our offensive line did. Let's go through some of the box scores, and we'll talk about the offensive side of the ball first, because I mean this was just a pure joy to watch. Jared Goff, 20 of 28 for 202 yards and 1 touchdown, did not get sacked once in the evening, QBR of 73. His running back stable, David Montgomery, 12 carries, 151 yards at 12.6 yards per carry with 2 touchdowns, although there was a 72-yard long drive in there, maybe stat padding just a little bit. Jahmyr Gibbs, not his most effective game, but he was a workhorse. 22 carries, 67 yards, going at 3 yards per carry. And crazy legs himself, Jared Goff, 4 carries for 5 yards. He has had one of the rushing performances of his life. We love to see it. In terms of how the receivers went, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7 receptions, 77 yards and a tutty. Jameson Williams, 2 receptions for 43 yards, going at 22 yards per reception, and about 59 run blocks on the day. The man blocked his ass off from here till kingdom come. Sam Laporta, 4 receptions, 33 yards. Felt like all of them were critical first down catches from him as well. Gibbs had 5 of 32 out the backfield, and there were catches for Monty and Raymond. Although sadly, Isaac Teslar's run of highlight reel grabs was over. Targeted twice, no catches on the day through some good coverage. And then when it comes to the offensive line, I mean, mean, you can't really ask for better in terms of blocking on the day. The offensive line, PFF credit them with just giving up 3 hits and 8 hurries, although we're going to question these in a minute because it only says Baltimore gave up 3 sacks and 14 pressures, which we know is a load of bollocks. But yeah, great day for the offensive line. Penny Sewell with one of the highest grades in history with his run blocking, 99.3. In other words, if you faced him in run blocking, he kicked your ass every single play. He was credited with 1 quarterback hit, as was Brock Wright and Christian Mahogany, and say just 8 pressures, but no sacks given up on the day. And this group blocked like champions. Penny Sewell, 99 run block grade. Ratledge, 90. Decker, 84. Like, you know, we'll break this down offensively bit by bit, but I think the critical part of this, and why I was so comfortable saying that we're going to win this game, the offensive line looks like it's gelled, and to be honest, they've even passed my expectations for what I thought they were going to be at this point. But it starts with those trench players. They protected Goff, gave him a clean pocket. Goff was very confident. A few times a bit of pressure was brought on him, used his legs a little bit, but, you know, the trenches allowed this whole thing to happen. They were, all 5 of them to a man, screw what PFF says, absolutely fantastic.
They were, yeah. Like, Ratledge even, I know initially he was credited as giving up nothing, but I know he's now been given 1, hasn't he, as they always do. But even him, like, his performance, I know obviously having Sewell have the game of his life, like you're saying, highest ever run block grade from an offensive lineman in PFF history. He now owns the regular season one, as well as overall, but also regular season, but also the playoff one, because he did hold the record for playoff with the game against the Bucks in the divisional round a couple of years ago. So, you know, elite run blocker, finally getting back to, you know, the guy, the generational talent, the Hall of Fame track that we all know he's on after a slight wobble in week 1, fully back now, and that obviously helps Tate. The communication on the offensive line being a lot better obviously helps Tate, because now he's not having to think about a load of things. And maybe going up against, I know you loved Travis Jones in that draft class, so I won't disparage him too much, but that was his primary matchup, and he had his way.
Killed him.
And, yeah, and it's got to the point now, I know obviously I even said it, I think, in the live show with the PFF doing their mock drafts out in 7 rounds. I'm honestly pivoting in my mind more to drafting pure centre than I am drafting an volunteer offensive line and moving Tate to centre. If he's that good at right guard, you don't fucking move him. We are not the Packers. We will not put him through what Elton Jenkins and what had to go through. Stick him where he's best, keep him there, and build around him, which we can do. There's a good couple of centres in his draft class. I know I mentioned Connolly in the stream. I think Parker Brailsford from Alabama's also coming out this year. I do like him as well. I got very good look at him in week 1 of college football. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But yeah, offensive line, great. So even the sort of weak part in Glasgow had a pretty good day as well. And when he's the kind of weak link right now. When he has a good day, everyone else does. Obviously, I know Goff's getting a lot of credit for getting the checks in the line a lot better and taking on that responsibility. But they did their job. The receivers, as you mentioned, yeah, okay, they didn't really catch too much. I know Amon Rob's the focal point, he always is, but JMO had his in the first drive. Tim Laporte, as we mentioned earlier, had a good couple of third down conversions. They didn't need that. They weren't needed. It was a run game, and so they run block their arse off. Like, you look at the, I think it was a 72-yarder with Monty. JMO was pretty much stride for stride for him. That's the kind of mentality we have in our receivers. That's why, even though Tesla didn't make a lovely catch in this game, like he seemingly did in week 1 and week 2, he dropped both his targets. He was there in the run game. Khalif, who didn't have a great game in the receiving game either, and as we're getting into the punt return game as well, but he blocked his arse off as well. Brock Wright did okay in run blocking, wasn't really receiving game he had in week 2, did all right, perhaps as a weak link for that. Laporta blocked his fucking arse off as well, for someone who's getting disparaged recently in the media for becoming more of a Dalton Kincaid, Carl Pitts kind of tight end, shall we say, Darren Waller kind of tight end, shall we say, where he's more receiving threat than he is a blocker. Boy, did he prove that wrong. He is a fucking all-round tight end, and he showed that as well. And then Goff as well. I know, obviously, we joked it's second rate on all this. He did what he needed to do. Was it flashy? No, he wasn't needed to be, and that's good that we know we can run. We can win that way. Last week it was very much off his arm, 5 touchdowns, all the yards, big completions to everyone. This week we will just need him to be point guard, spread the ball out in certain situations, and boy did he, the touchdown to Amon-Ra, the 4th down conversion to Amon-Ra, both beautiful throws.
3 of 3 on 4th downs.
Yeah, 3 of 3 on 4th downs and all this. Not many QBs could do that. He did what he needed to do, spread the ball around, and he just let his running game go to work. And yeah, Gibbs wasn't the most efficient, but we still kept on with him. And Monty does what Monty does. Some of his drives, some of his runs were reminiscent of the overtime game against the Rams week 1 last year, where in that overtime drive it was just run with him, because we knew could beat them black and blue. And as I joked in the comments earlier, they came into the game wearing black uniforms. By the end, they were battered and bruised. They were black and blue, just like their uniforms, because we just absolutely annihilated them on the ground. Like, just go back and watch the. It wasn't a pancake Pede Saul with Mike Green. He turned him into a smashed burger. That's how good the run block was.
I love that. But, we both said before that 18-play drive, this is Monty's drive. You're backed up by your own end zone. Which running back do you put in there? You put Monty in there, because he's the one who's going to get you 5 yards on first down, 6 yards on first down. He's going to make it more manageable. He's going to open up the pass a little bit. Like, that's what Monty does. He does what Jameer cannot. And what a lot of running backs can't do. He can thrive with no space. He can thrive getting contacted before the line of scrimmage. And that's exactly what he did. He was the focal point of that drive. He finished it off. It was absolutely tremendous. But, a record now for Jahmyr Gibbs and for David Montgomery. What are we now? 11 games where they've recorded touchdowns together as a pair.
Yeah.
And we're 11-0 in those games, I believe the record is. They are setting the standards for a pair of running backs that we've just never seen in Detroit before. We may never see again when this is all said and done.
Yeah, 100%. I know people have in the past kind of overlooked them. I know the Falcons obviously have Bijan and what's his? I literally should know. I literally picked him up in fantasy earlier. Tyler Algier. They've got them. There's a couple of ones floating around. We showed why they are, and I said as much when obviously that stat came in, that we've 11-0 when we've scored touchdowns, and we've broken NFL record for most games where they've scored touchdowns together, breaking the 1960s Packers record. Adding Amon-Ra with that as well, we've broken we've extended an NFL record with games where they've as a triumvirate they've scored touchdowns together. Now that's got up to 11, and I think we're pretty close to being 11-0 in that as well. We have gone from I hate. I know obviously we're supposed to be praising everything like a sort of panegyric. Think back to the start of this regime when we were trotting out, as much as we respect them for what they did, we were trotting out Kerryon Johnson and DeAndre Swift as our running backs. God, have we fucking upgraded from there?
Yeah. I mean, Kerryon was always could have been. That was injuries and shit. But these two, because we can run them in tandem and staying healthy, but those two were absolutely tremendous. Now, I know that we touched on the receivers already, but I don't think it is a switch to say that Jameson Williams might be the best blocking receiver in the NFL, purely because, as we've said, that speed. He can block on the line of scrimmage, then he can bolt 60 yards upfield, catch his running back up, and block again. There were 2 touchdowns he was responsible for in this game, his blocking. The big touchdown run the big 72-yarder from Monty, he's blocking downfield on that after making a block at the line of scrimmage. We may have the best. I know Amon-Ra's great at it, but because of Jameis' speed, it just takes him up that notch. These guys work their asses off, even if they don't need to win the pass game, but he might be the best there is.
Yeah, well, to go off that, I'll quickly just look till because I've got PFF up. According to them, this season, JMO is 13th in the league with run blocking, and you look at some of the guys above him, and they've got, you say that he has played out of all the guys above him. He has double the amount of snaps of run blocking snaps.
Oh, are these like guys who've taken a couple of snaps and done alright and stuff like that?
The number one is Ben Skowronek of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who's played 8 run blocking snaps. You've got some other guys that then are sprinkled in the 20s, like Rashad Bateman's number 2. Of guys who let's see, does it do a minimum? oh, if I put a minimum of 50% thing on, JMO is number one.
There you go.
You know, guys, numbered below him, DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley. Big fucking ass receivers, and JMO, who is seen as to put it lightly, a skinny Winnie of a receiver by most people who don't actually look at him. They just see him as a Will Fuller. He is so all round, and that's why he works here, because he does the run blocking. And I think it was Pride of Detroit who mentioned it. Think about if he got drafted somewhere around, like, I'm going to put it out there because what's happening right now with some of their receivers with Jermaine Burton. That imagine if he went to the Cincinnati Bengals or somewhere like that wouldn't see those traits in him, really work on it and push him to the extent, and just kind of let him coast along with his talent. He might not be in the league anymore because he would just flame out.
No.
We are the perfect land spot for him because of that run blocking and the way that we can develop him to the full extent. Yes, you're fast as fuck and you can do all this. We developed the route running, we developed the run blocking, which is why he is a true 3-down receiver. Amon-Ra does give him a push for his money, but he does get hit with the you're only a slot receiver thing, even though you look at PFF, he's played more outside receiver snaps than slot receiver snaps this season so far. Mr. That Franchise Guy, when I replied to you on Twitter about it. We honestly as a sort of wide receiver room, we have the best run blockers like Amon-Ra, JMO, Tesla can obviously do it. That's what won us over for him with the Senior Bowl. Khalifa, his size being me sized, he can run block his arse off as well.
Tesla had some good ones. Tesla had some good ones in this game.
Exactly.
So
they all did, and that's why we can spring the 72-yard runs for Monty. That's why, to go back to the Chargers games 2 years ago, we can come out in the wrong personnel. Goff can spot it and be like, shit, okay, we need to go into this. We do it, and 80-yard touchdown to David Montgomery.
JMO's blocking right by the end zone to help him get in there like that. I do.
Exactly.
That's why I think JMO is special. He may not end with the gaudy career receiving numbers that some others do, and of a first-round pick, you might think, well, he's underachieved. You watch his entire career and what he does in the run facet of the game, he is worth every single penny of the pick you put into him. And, this is just... Giving me any other receiver, there would only be Jefferson in the NFC North. I would take over him. That is it. Purely because he's a once-in-a-generation receiver.
Yeah.
And even then, I'd still feel bad with the run block stuff, because it's like, it's just another big option on the outside. But there is not another receiver in this league outside of Jefferson I would take over JMO.
People make note of that because this is Luther Burden's number one fan in the draft class. So if he's saying that, and with the day that Luther Burden has, which can just shows it.
I've loved JMO since day one, what he does here, and just he's had a rough time, but games like this, even when you look on the stat sheet, you think, he didn't do much. No, he did, but they all did. The entire offense was tremendous, and we can't finish talking about the offense without talking about its coordinator, who, rightly got some tap after week one with the Packers game. It was a little predictable, a little samey, but, you got three new position changes on the offensive line, 2 rooks in there. It's becoming more apparent week in, week out. We got caught cold with the amount of new guys we were bringing in there, but Morton, for the second game in a row, and we saw this, was hitting them here, there, and everywhere. He wasn't just sort of focusing on one area. He wasn't calling the same play twice. We saw the Maryland trips in this one, which I believe we didn't see that against the Bears, did we? So the Maryland trips came in from the Bears game. It's new. It was different in how we did it. The first time they ran all 3 to the left. Then they started spreading guys out in different directions, and you could see the Ravens defense going like, fuck are all these guys going? Who's got who? We don't know. We've added a new wrinkle already. We've added the trick plays in, and for the second game in a row, because of how he's called the game, an opposition defense has had no idea how to counteract it, and they've not been able to adjust to how he plays. He has called, for the second game in a row, an absolutely fantastic, and outside of that one all-throw drive, which was a bit shit, a perfect game.
Yeah. Exactly, yes. I've just pulled up one of my stats websites because you know what I'm like. And to go up against what was at that point going into the game the number one offense in EPA per play, we nearly doubled what they put out in EPA per play. So theirs was plus 0.21, 0.37 for us, which might be skewed by a couple of the big big runs that sort of took it over. But it's not, because you look at the passing EPA per pass. It's nearly half a point for every pass attempt, while they were about a third of a point per pass attempt. Run, we were plus a quarter of a point per run attempt. They were at minus 0.4 EPA per rush. Morton called an absolute game. As we mentioned earlier, he saw a weakness in the Baltimore, which, admittedly, I should have maybe done in my preview, though I did talk about the defensive line. That he saw their secondary is great. They've got views where you can match up on an ex-receiver. Nate Wiggins, when he's not used to suddenly CB blitz on the first drive, is good as well. He can maybe cover JMO because they're both fast. And then Marlon Humphrey, while he's on the downswing of his career, is still a good corner. And then obviously the safeties are the safeties. Like Carl Hamilton's up there. Malachi Stark's both of the draft pass. He saw, okay, we're not really going to have a passing game this week. It's going to be on the run game. And he just called the right runs. I know, obviously, one of the questions that I put down to come back to later from Wizard of War earlier about switching halfway through that 18-play drive from zone to man. I haven't looked back at the game particularly. I've been a bit busy with some stuff, actually
Likewise.
getting a job. Yeah, exactly. You've been at work. I've been getting work, but it is on my list to do at some point, because I know I want to do a piece on the defense, as I mentioned on the live stream. But that makes sense to me, because zone, while we did mention, I think it was week 1 I mentioned it, that we were better in zone blocking than we were gap, which confused me. This week, as we mentioned earlier, we take Ratledge. He saw, okay, Tate can handle Travis Jones. Excellent. And then you go in. You can see like Peebles will be matched up against Mahogany. That's a win for us. He saw that if we go man to man on the offensive line, just put a helmet to helmet, we've got the advantage. So it makes sense that we switched to that. We switched to, I think it was duo, quite a lot of it, which is why we then went to the Maryland sort of I formation and that, because you can build trick plays out of that, as we saw. And we just pounded it down their throats, and maybe that's the most demoralising thing for the Ravens and their defensive line now, why they're taking today off, is because they knew what was coming 95% of the time in that second half. When they saw Monty there, they knew it was going to be a run down their throat. Could they stop it? Could they shit?
Nope. They had about as much success as my hairline at regrowing. Bit of love for JMO getting there. One Prag goes, I wouldn't trade JMO for anyone. He's tailor-made for this team. Yes, he is. William goes, appreciate the JMO love. Never forget how much hate he got in the beginning. No, never forget what that kid went through. And he's still here. And he is one of the most passionate players about this team. Full stop. Big M goes, rather unfair to JMO with the production for a first-round receiver expectation. Most first-round receivers are drafted to a team. They will immediately be the number one receiver on. JMO wasn't, which is correct. And immediately he's drafted to a team that loves to run the football as well. So not only is he coming to somewhere he's not the number one target, you've got to earn your targets here. Like the first round and the 7th round picks start on an even keel. Like you can't, you don't get just straight in here, and then you've got to run block your ass off to even get a chance at getting the ball. So, I will do some work on JMO one day in his way, and we will show the world wrong there for him. Sorry,
and I mean, I was just looking at his draft class. I know, obviously, so the guys drafted in front of him who had AR. So Drake London's been good for the Falcons. Garrett Wilson's been the best receiver for the Jets ever since drafting him. Olave, when he's not getting hospital balls and getting concussed, has been great for the Saints. But you look at the next couple taken after JMO. Jahan Dotson, bust for the Commanders. Treylon Burks, out of the league now. Where's he gone? Like, Christian Watson for the Packers. Bust. You just go through, like Wandale Robinson for the Giants, who we had a lot of things with in the draft class. Bust. John Mechie traded.
Yeah, an injury prone.
Tyquan Thornton traded to the Chiefs, and he busted with the Chiefs. Is now with the Patriots, now with the Chiefs, and maybe getting somewhere. Pickens, like you start getting Sky Moore, like all of this. JMO gets his unfair rap because obviously they're coming after ACL, and then the suspensions.
But out of that class, he's the star.
He's one of the stars of it. Okay, it's just because the whole relative thing of he's got that light on him because he's a first rounder and he's not judged. Where's all this stuff about Treylon Burks? Which I remember the facts. He supposed he had XXL hands and then he came into it and he basically had normal hands. Like all this stuff, where's the stuff on them? Oh wait, it's because JMO's been coming up with the Rising Lions teams who've had a load of lights and eyes on us because we're the upstarts. No one likes us, so we're trying to nitpick every little thing we do. I mean, I hold my hands up. I've done some of that when he got the stuff for the suspension with the Adderall that wasn't on prescription. I was a bit like, oh, come on, JMO, sort it out now. And then the whole stuff with the gun, it's like, come on, get it all together. He has. He has not missed a single fucking step ever since then. And that's why we've awarded him the contracts, and he's going to pay that back to the nth day.
Absolutely, he is. A few more things. Independent Aquaman goes, who here has tried JMO's McDonald's concoction? Took me over half a year to have the courage to try it. It tastes amazing.
Not yet.
Not yet. So, no, we will do there. William goes, remember when Brad drafted Jar Gibbs? He said we didn't draft a running back, we drafted a weapon. I look at JMO the same way. He's a weapon. He is absolutely. All this team is weapons, as One Pride says. Right, let's move on to the defense. Otherwise, we'll just be here forever praising this team, and I could do that forever and a day. And we move on to the defense, and I mean, just what a tremendous game. Obviously, a couple of drives early on that, you know, were a little bit worrying. They struggled early on with Lamar. Lamar was passing the ball down the field, whereas we were getting the long, strong drives out. They were moving it pretty quickly, which probably worked against them, actually. But as the game went on, and we'll talk about Shep later, you said after the Bears game, Shep has shown an ability to adapt his defense better than any Lions defensive coordinator I can remember already, and these guys did adapt, and all over the show they came to play. 7 sacks on Lamar Jackson. He has never been sacked 7 times in his entire career. 30 pressures on the quarterback, on a rushing quarterback who we have not been able... We probably have not had that in the last 2 games. We've probably not had half of that production in the last 2 games combined on him. This pressure came from all over. But in terms of the stat leaders, Jack Campbell, 8 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, strip sack, turnover for Jack Campbell, with blood all over his face, playing like a proper Trojan King warrior. Derek Barnes, 7 tackles, 4 solo, a sack, a QB hit, big 4th down stop from him as well, QB spying in some parts. Brian Branch, 5 tackles on the day, pass defended. Al-Qadim Muhammad, the star here, 4 tackles, 3 solo, 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits. You know, Alex Anzalone, half a sack. Aiden Hutchinson, sack, tackle for loss, QB hit, forced fumble. Zach Cunningham, tackle for loss. DJ Reed, pass defended there for him. Nowaski, sack, tackle for loss, QB hits. I mean, the story of this one, after getting shredded early, we did exactly what we needed to, Ash. The secondary became insanely good in man coverage, allowed us to keep the linebackers up as QB spies, send them with the defensive line to go hunt Lamar down, and at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson was getting hounded by more men than Bonnie Blue on her best day when this was all said and done. Like, he didn't get any rest whatsoever, and visibly for the entire game, even when they were scoring, looked frustrated and said as much after the game. But, you know, 30 points given up, but this was one of the best defensive performances we've seen against a mobile quarterback in a very long time.
Yeah, especially for us. I know obviously we have had a bad history of them, but with this, what happened with the rush game here reminded me a lot of the Colts game last year, where that first drive, Anthony Richardson had his way with us on the ground, and then we locked the fuck down, and it was the same here. Like, we spotted it as much as Shep said, oh, we continue the philosophy and they're like QB spies. He QB spied in the right way, and he had a linebacker who showed a blitz, and if it was run, if they could read run, they did the blitz. If not, they sat back with some coverage responsibility of, okay, you'll cover the running back out late or the tight end, what if they leak out from blocking, but your main job is just to sit there and watch Lamar, and if he starts to scramble, then you go for him. Like Nowaski got his sack doing that, and then the edge rushers and the defensive line did the squeeze and contain to the best degree. I know obviously I predicted him, I think, that Tyreek will get his first NFL sack. He didn't, but what he did do was he didn't bite on anything. He just took his guard, which I think he was usually lined up against Falele, So big motherfucker himself, the guy from Minnesota. Not exactly the hardest guy the easiest guy to get round. Just hold his thing there, held it so Lamar couldn't rush up the middle, which is usually the thing, and then the edges could crash in and they could get their sacks. And you can see it works because it's not just like we're following them all to Hutch. The fact that the sacks were spread out, and the AQ, someone who didn't play that many snaps, I think if I just look at quickly, he actually played the 12th most snaps in the game. He played one less snap in the game than Roy Lopez did. And he managed to have that impact. The fact that everything's spread around shows that we did it right, because if not, it would be Aiden getting all the stuff and they would just leak out the other side. The fact it was nice to spread around, everyone got their bit done, shows that we had the right thing there, and we'll probably get into it in a bit. Especially in the second half, the coverage as well, which was a big part of it as well, because if there's pressure, you want to get either scramble or you're trying to get the ball off quick. He couldn't do that. He was having to pump fake. He was having to go through his reads again and again, trying to find someone to get open. And a couple of times that happened late into the play. So that's how Mark Andrews got quite a few of his catches. I know Shirley Kolar in the second half had 2 catches that way. There were coverage sacks as well. It was the perfect marriage of pass rush and coverage that we have not seen in a long time. There was always something given up, be it the massive run we had to get into the playoffs, and first we were giving up 100 yards and 2 touchdowns to their wide receiver ones week in, week out, and still leaking out the games. Or last year, initially, instantly, where we were getting the sacks, but sometimes the coverage wouldn't hold up. This is the first time in a long time that we can say that both really added up, and it's the first time we've got 7 sacks since 20, that we've had this many sacks through 3 games since 2010. Not even the 2014 defense, which is highly vaulted, managed to do what this defense is currently doing, and that's with the revolving pieces of that having defense line, a new defensive coordinator, and some struggles in the secondary covering some players.
Yes, I mean early on it was apparent that there were struggles there, but they all adapted. Everyone from Terry on, who had a bit of a bad first half, him in the second half was clutch. When you had that first turnover when Fox punched the ball out of Lamar's hands, you can see Reed and Arnold in the end zone. They're draping their men. He's got nowhere to throw, and he's desperately waiting for them to get open, and he's just strays a second too long, and Campbell's all over him like a bad rash, and you saw it all come together. And again, most importantly, you saw the adjustments during the game. How nice is it to see adjustment from our defense? I remember they went after Branch a little bit early on with those guys, so they kind of took Branch out that role, moved him back into the deep safety position instead of having up line of scrimmage. They got the matchups done a little bit better, and in fairness, Lamar pulled off some of the best throws you'll ever see as well. The first touchdown one to Andrews, when I think is it Anzalone covering him or something like that, is an absolute beauty. 31 of the quarterbacks in the league don't make that throw, or maybe Josh Allen or someone like that. But in terms of how they adjusted in this game was the big thing. But it starts with your front four, your defensive line, and eventually 5 pressures coming through the interior, Al-Qadin going off, allows Hutch, when others are playing, for the attention to come off him, spread it out along the line. Hutch becomes more of an impact as the game goes on, because AQM is forcing them to the defensive line. Was tremendous in this. Again, given the injuries it's had, where AQM's come from, the 4 of them together, allowing the Spies to be able to stay back and do their job, and pressuring Lamar into some of these bad throws they were able to get at. This defensive line is one of the best defensive line performances we've seen in a long time. All 4 of them. And Lopez as well, apart from the one false start he had, which gave up a third down. But all of them contributed in this one, which freed up the field for Hutch. Yeah,
exactly. And hell, even the guys that we picked up on roster cut downs in Tyler Lacey and Tyrus Wheat, they didn't really play that many snaps. Wheat had 2 snaps and Lacey had a bit more, 19. He was in there at that sort of 4-eye big end position, some packages. They had contributions as well. We've managed to sort of work out a system now against these kind of QBs that we know what to do. And obviously, Pat, I know obviously Dan referred to it in his post-game press conference, the role that Malik Cunningham had in sort of doing that, where they brought him in, and on that first practice day, he had his way with the defense, and then the next day we tightened up a bit, but he was still getting free a couple. And then you got to Friday where we were playing against him. and it just worked perfectly. And he was like, "Yep, okay, this is great," and that's why he got the shout out, and that's why we'll probably see him be cut potentially. Or I wouldn't be opposed to keeping around because we've still got to face Jalen Hurts in a couple of weeks. We've got to face Caleb again. If JJ McCarthy's back by the time we start facing the Vikings, he's got some mobility. We've still got to face a couple of those QBs, so keep him around maybe. But that's the big thing. That has been the big thing for this defense for years. Listening on the defensive line, like it was always asked by Pride of Detroit whenever we played a mobile quarterback, "Oh, why can't we stop him?" It's like, well, no defense can really stop a mobile quarterback. We might have found a recipe for that, but the good thing about it is not every team will have the personnel to be able to run the kind of stuff that we do. Like, do you think not to disparage the Packers wholly, because obviously they've got a good pass rush.
Oh, we disparage the Packers here. We'll go ahead.
True, but I don't want it to come back and bite me. But the way their defensive line is, as we mentioned in our week 1 preview, and I did in my preview, they're built more for their light. They're built on speed. They will just overshoot Lamar and open rush lanes for him. I can't see them running the fucking defensive scheme we can. There's not many teams that can. The only one that really sticks out initially in my mind is obviously Philadelphia, because of the depth they have at their defensive line. Not many teams will be able to do what we could do to the Ravens on the defensive line, which means, yes, it's seen as this lovely scheme that everyone will now try against Lamar. Whoever tries it against them next is going to get burnt, unless they're us, Philadelphia, or someone else, or maybe somehow the Giants. The Giants could maybe do it with Dexter Lawrence, the edge rushers they have. There's not many teams can do to Lamar what we can, which is beautiful. We're now one of the unicorns in terms of defenses. Who would have thought of saying that about the Lions even a couple of years ago? Hell, even like 5 years ago, when we had the defensive guru who came up with the best defensive play in Super Bowl history. He wouldn't be able to do what we did to Lamar on Monday.
And the scary thing is, they've not exactly been very creative with their pass rushing. That graph came out earlier. Yeah. The Lions stunting 3% of the time, the lowest in the league by a massive amount. But maybe that's a good thing. That promotes gap integrity. You're not moving guys all over the line, losing your assignments. Mm-hmm. You are responsible for somewhere from start of play to end of play, and not getting too funny with it, because maybe that's what guys do. They think, we'll try and trick Lamar, we'll stunt, we'll do all these twists, and we'll move guys around, but in the end it ends up being such a convoluted mess that he can see it all and go, okay, I see my route out here. When he's got a front four who is staying exactly where they are, and he's like, oh, okay, like I can't go there, I can't go there, I can't go there, I can't go there. If I can get past him, oh god, he's waiting for me, I can't go there. And like you say, he didn't run a lot particularly in this one because he couldn't, and he had to stay back there. And the gap integrity that the line had was like, he couldn't, we just kept him hemmed up. Like you said, maybe less creativity is better creativity with Lamar. Just be disciplined.
Yeah, I think, and that will go forward for us in the future. No, obviously, we're up there for blitz rate. We want to feel we're the second highest blitzes in the league, obviously, which makes sense, because of to generate that pass rush. Excuse me. But if it works, why change it? And I know obviously people will then say, oh, but the injuries start happening. Let's say Davenport gets injured again, or AQ gets injured, and we are down to what we were like last year. Then you can start getting creative. But at least now we know for these kind of things, when we face the Eagles, when we face the Chiefs, because we've got to play them before the bye, haven't we? Mahomes is currently the Chiefs' leading rusher, which is funny. But there's another thing, because we know we can go into there now with, I know they've just beat the Giants. Well done to them. We can go into Arrowhead knowing, hey, the last time we were here, we won. And oh yeah, we've now worked out how to play these kind of QBs. And yes, Travis Kelce's there, and they've got a good couple of receivers. They probably have Rashee Rice back, He'll be free, his rightful punishment for nearly killing people. Fucking Chiefs. We'll be able to handle it, hopefully. And obviously, saying that now, things can change in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, sometimes the creativity, I do want a bit more stunting against non-mobile QBs. So, maybe this week against Joe Flacco, a statue. Maybe we start stunting with Hutch and that just to get him nice matchups. So, by the looks of things, he'll have a nice matchup either way, because Dwan Jones has gone onto IR, and Jack Conklin didn't practice today, so another backup tackle for Hutch to absolutely beat down on. But against mobile QBs, it is all about the gap integrity. Hell, against good running backs as well. So like, if we're facing, I'm trying to think who's got. Let's say we face the Falcons. We meet them in round one of the playoffs. We somehow get there, and we have to play Bijan. Gap integrity is how you beat them, because where's it going to go if you're holding your gaps? You have to stop bouncing outside. Oh, we've got the best run defending corners in the league. Have fun with that, Bijan.
Yeah, exactly. Moving down into the linebackers, and what a performance from the linebackers in this one. We may just have witnessed the true birth of Jack Campbell. 2.5 seasons in, that's where your linebackers really start to acclimatise themselves to the league. I can't remember who it was. Someone made a really good point on his sack where, Lamar pump faked. He kept his feet on the ground. He didn't jump in the air like a madman and give away his gap integrity. He was smart. He stayed on the ground, made the push when he realised he wasn't going. One of his best performances in a Lions uniform so far. But Derek Barnes showing why we paid him. That threat off the edge, the sack, the third down stop when he was spying Lamar himself, the speed, that closing speed was really vital for us and for him and Nowowski getting it. Nowowski, and even the backup guys. Nowowski comes in with a sack. Zach Cunningham, the play before Jack Campbell strip sacks Lamar on that end zone stand.
Yeah.
He's the guy who comes up and spears Derrick Henry like Goldberg, pushes him back 3 yards, stops him going into the end zone. Everybody from the leader to the guy who comes in and plays 2 snaps showed out in this game, and our linebacker room finally showed how varied it is, all the weapons it possesses, and just how deadly they can be in matchups like this because they can do so damn much. I didn't even mention Anzalone. Anzalone had a good game, but the linebackers may have been the standout of this game, like the undersung heroes.
Oh yeah, 100%. Not to take full credit for it, I did say something basically the same with the Jack Campbell sack. I know, obviously, I put it through my own lens of flag football, but that was my point. Is he did the right thing in his blitzing, and I know Dan mentioned it. That's one of the big things: is don't dive his ankles, don't jump, don't basically give yourself up and open up stuff for him. Did the right thing, just got in his face, hands up. You could see the Marshall the pump fake it, went for the strip sack, and it worked. We've seen the birth of it. There were a couple of issues with him blitzing in a traditional way, where maybe, from our untrained eyes, it might just look like, that's just a shit blitz, but he's actually opening up stuff for people behind him. But the full birth of him, coverage. The coverage of the linebackers might need a bit of work. We still might get burnt by a couple of tight ends, but in terms of run defense and pass rush, you can't ask for more. And I agree with you. I even said on the stream, I think, about Derek Barnes showing why we paid him. Nowowski showing why he's still around. I know we usually don't do what we did yesterday. Usually it's you have the 3 linebackers you play and then 3 linebackers who play special teams. Shep, obviously, with his background, is making a change to that in our philosophy, playing these linebackers a bit more in rotational stuff. So Zach Cunningham had played 2 plays, that for the 3rd and goal and the 4th and goal, in a sort of goal line package. Second highest graded player, according to PFF, with no snap limit. And Nowowski, who only played 8 snaps later in the game, 5th highest graded player on the defense with no snap limit. They all showed out and showed why they're around. And again, looking back at where we've come from with linebackers, trotting out Christian Jones and Jamie Collins, and I know I did like him for special teams with Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Hell, even looking at back at last year when we were playing Zeke Turner and all that out at linebacker, we've come a long way. And that this sort of win the job by bloodbath has worked. And the best thing is, and I'm going to say it, I'm stealing it from you, this linebacker room's going to get a lot better by about midway through November, because a certain Detroit Cowboy should be nice and fit from his ACL tear. And oh my God, imagine him in this kind of linebacker thing. He's the perfect QB spy for what we do, because he can blitz like fuck. I know, you've pointed out that in his draft profile, but he knows how to leverage people and do all this with the blitzing as well to open up other stuff. Jesus Christ, we're going to get so much better against mobile QBs in this scheme when Malcolm comes back.
We are indeed. I can't wait to it. But the linebackers are tremendous, and then finish off with the secondary. Start with EJ Reed. We talk about maybe underrated players in this game who don't get the love they do, but the one thing I said you need to do in this game is you need to take Zay Flowers out of it, because he's been the field stretcher, who means you've got to lighten your box a little against the run, or you've got to risk getting burned by him and his speed. He's turning into a premier receiver, but if you can keep him under wraps and stop him having an impact on the game, again, your linebackers stay forward with your defensive line, more ammunition against Lamar. DJ Reed was on Zay Flowers more than the IRS are on Jimmy Carr when his tax returns are due. Like, he had no room to move whatsoever. DJ Reed showing why we paid so much for him in free agency. He took the Ravens one big receiving weapon away from them, and conversely took away Lamar's ability to throw the ball downfield, which gave us the opportunity to go and murder him.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I know I hold my hands up again. In my preview, I said we should do the opposite. We should do what we did kind of against the Bears and let Dunze have his. We've shown that we can sort of deal with one receiver going off against us. So long as we clamp down on everything else and make Lamar one-dimensional, we should be fine. The exact opposite happened, where we clamped down on Zay Flowers, which my fantasy team hates, because he was one of my flexes in the league that I really wanted to win, and one of my flag football ones. So thanks for that defense. We let everyone else go off, like Mark Andrews, as you alluded to earlier. I benched him because I was like, come on. We would like Branch and Anzalone be covering him. And he's been shit so far. He won't do too much. He went off. Charlie Kolar finally started catching passes. He hadn't even been targeted so far this season before Monday. Rashard Bateman showing a bit of why they drafted him as highly as they did. DeAndre Hopkins, who is a one-ball, even had a good couple of plays. And Tez Walker, as much as he broke his streak of every catch he had in the league so far being touchdowns, he had a good couple of plays as well. Even Justice Hill on that sort of third and forever nearly converted that. Yeah, we took away Lamar's favourite toy, and it made him struggle, because then he's suddenly like the guy you instantly locks into, that trusted weapon that, honestly, I know Todd Monken gets a lot of credit for sort of developing Lamar as a passer, but having Zay Flower, who I did really love in the draft class, because, undersized ACC guy, why would I not? Having that trusted weapon, kind of like how Amon-Ra is for Goff, having him, we took that away from him. We took away his Amon-Ra, and suddenly he was having to look elsewhere, and it forced him to pump fake, have to go through all this stuff, and it led to some of the sacks, and he finally got free a bit in the second half. But we did see it as at least a sideways move going from Carlton Davis to him, and so far it's been kind of equalish. So I know DJ Reed's about 68 currently on the season, Carlton Davis is on the 61. You look at DJ Reed, that 68 is heavily weighted by week one, where the secondary was just bad. We were just bad. He has gone up and up in this game. Like, you look at his PFF grades, which he's not the be all and end all, goes from like a 38 to a 64. So this week with us 83. He's just going to get better, and the scheme obviously is still changing. He is taking the sort of schematic changes that we're seeing. We're playing a bit more zone than we usually do. We're doing a lot more of some of these things. He's taking to it well, and maybe this probably is a nice segue to the other, obviously, outside corner, who didn't have such a good day in some ways, especially in the first half. He's just growing in this defense, and he's going underrated. Like, I remember some of the lists coming out, and he wasn't even listed as a top 10 cornerback in the league, and I'm like, just because he's come to us, his son, he gets the Detroit Lions tax. The fuck?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you can find out. Someone did ask how is Reed comparing to what CD3 did by this phase last year.
This year.
Last year. DJ Reed's first 3 games this year against CD3's last 3 games last year. Whilst you work that one out, we will segue into DJ's partner, Terrion Arnold. And as far as Terrion Arnold goes, I am finding myself more and more every week having the JMO complex with him, and that I am inclined to defend him more and more. And I believe that whilst there is some bad play from Terrion Arnold right now, I think people need a scapegoat. Especially people who don't like Brad and want Brad to fail need a scapegoat, and he's the new target of his draft picks. Like, Terrion didn't have a great first half here. The one that stood out, I think it was a throw to Bateman, where Bateman just hits this kind of little out route on him, and he's like 5-6 yards away, and it's such soft coverage, which you're thinking, right, come on, Terrion, you've got to be a little bit closer than that. That just looked easy. But then you get pinged for that DPI, and I'm going to say this now, I'm going to talk about the refs later. That DPI call on Terrion Arnold in the end zone is absolute balderdash. Now, maybe there is some contact from him there. Maybe. But you're not telling me that Nuke's hands are not in his helmet, forcing him away from the football. There is DPI on that play. There is OPI on that play. More egregious OPI on that play. And what are you pointing at? You're muted. I can't see what you're pointing at.
As I mentioned earlier, D-Hop is a womble for calling Terrion Arnold a little boy while grabbing his face mask.
Yes. So, anyhow, back to Terrion. I thought that DPI call was bogus. I think he's getting targeted by refs. Some guys get reps and people go after them. I thought that was a bogus call, but obviously it impacts negatively on him. But like I said after that, I thought Terrion had a tremendous second half. I thought Branch had a shitty start to this game. He was getting picked on. He was losing his assignments a little bit. He gave up a few interceptions, but then Branch adjusted and got a lot better. I thought Terrion Arnold got a lot better as well as time went on. And again, outside corner is tough. We have been spoiled by Penne, Amon-Ra, all guys like this, Hutch, just coming in day one and producing and looking amazing. But you know, we're seeing with Jack Campbell, we're in year 2.5 and we're just starting to see the best side of him. We're starting to see him adjusted to the league, been the best. He was a first round pick. Laporta, after his great rookie year, we're still seeing him adjusting to the league and not getting to where he needs to be at just yet. These draft picks all take their own separate amount of time to get where they need to go. And as an outside corner who is trusted with a lot of tough assignments, DeAndre Hopkins is not an easy assignment in this league. Even though he's an old washed up has-been, he still runs routes as well as anybody else does, and he'll trash talk you as anyone else does. Like, he takes his lumps, but no one talks about the good plays he makes. They're just signalling the bad plays and saying he's a bust. I feel like there's not a fair conversation on him here. Yes, this was a mid-game for him, and there were mistakes he made, but again, Ash, I thought him and Branch and other members of that secondary got toasted a little bit early on, but they woke right the hell up after the break, and they gave him nothing in the second half.
Yeah, so I agree. Like, Arnold, as I mentioned it yesterday, the whole call, he got that flag because he's got this reputation in the league of, oh yeah, he's this grabby receiver and that, and so they're calling it off the reputation. It was bullshit. It was off his face mask. And then, yeah, the added nugget, which has come from TA's new podcast, is that supposedly, as he's doing it, Nuke is calling him a little boy, which, you know, fair play, like, fair, do the trash talk and that, but, you know, do it when you're actually beating our cornerback properly rather than, you know, wrestling his head around to draw a flag and flopping to get the flag as well because you didn't make the catch. It's stuff like that. But the thing that's got to be bear in mind as well at Arnold is he's being asked to play last year he was asked to play the most man coverage snaps of any rookie corner by far. Oh no, wait, the most man coverage snaps of any corner in the league last year as well. So it's not just rookies, it was all corners. This year is coming to a similar scheme, yes, but it's been asked him to play a bit more zone. The thing with zone is sometimes, as we've seen a couple of the coverage plays so far this season, you have to communicate better, and sometimes it means that you're a bit further off your guy when they're targeted. He's adjusting to that. No rookie, like, it's impossible to be a Derek Stingley, a Sauce Gardner, Kamara Lassiter last year, Cooper DeJean, these guys who Keanu Mitchell, even though he had his rookie struggles early in the year, it is very, very hard for corners to come in and hit the ground day one. Hell, most corners are not going to be shut down corners. There's no Daryl Reeves in this league anymore. A load of corners are going to have bad days. It's just because people don't actually watch the stuff. They just box score watch and be like, well, he gave up all these yards. They don't see the context of it. So the stuff with last week where he gave up a load of yards. One of them was because he's credited as the closest defender on the Roma Dunze touchdown, which is more on Jack Campbell for me than Terrion. But also, you look at the context, he gave up 8 yards on a 3rd and 9. There is a lot of context that needs to be taken into account with the box score for Arnold. And most people don't do that. They just look at the EPA, look at the yards given up, and they're like, well, he's not getting the turnovers, so he's not getting, the sort of the Trayvon Diggs sort of impacts that were when he was, given the most yards in the league. He was getting a couple of interceptions, which looks good for him. He's not getting the turnovers just because he has to be playing a lot of man coverage, which is hard to do stuff. And yet he still nearly got one last week if it wasn't for the Brian Branch bogus call with Russell the passer. Again, Branch had that bogus one this week of a chop block, which he's falling over like.
And it gets him at his waist. It's a waist tackle. He's at his waist. A low tackle is below the waist at the knees, which, and we'll talk about this later, with Hutch, is more than could be said for what fucking Ravens were doing. Like, they were going low. Brian Branch was at midriff at worst, and that was him slipping. Yeah,
and I'm actually going literally, William Thompson and Thomason in the chat has basically said what was said as well. The last big great corner we had, Darius Slay, his rookie season wasn't great either. He was benched at one point, as far as I can remember, because that was just as I was getting into sort of my Lions fandom. It takes a while sometimes, and they have to take their lumps and learn on the job. Sometimes, you're going to have these shitty games where he gives up a lot of yards, but so long, and this goes for the rest of the team, it's the whole team mentality, so long as it comes to games that actually fucking matter at the end of December, through January, and hopefully at the start of February, he is playing well enough to not be a liability. I can take the struggles right now, and he's getting the hard matchups. Romeo Dubs in week 1, not an easy matchup really. This last week against Roma Dunze and DJ Moore, they're good receivers. This week against Rashad Bateman, who has not lived up to his first round billing, but he's good. Nuke Hopkins is one of the best receivers of the past 20 years. That's not called Julio Jones or Calvin Johnson or Antonio Brown. He's good. Zay Flowers, I think he got for like 1 coverage snap, and he actually held down. He's holding his own. It's not his, but it is his fault in a way that he's seen as a core. He has to play as a cornerback one. Sometimes he has to take these hard assignments, but he can do it. But we can't just slate him. He has to grow into it. You can't just suddenly, as I know, I think Lisa DiRolenzo said it in the chat, and I know fucking Mike Payton's put it out there as well, a move to nickel.
Why ruin him like that?
But then if you push him to nickel, suddenly if he doesn't work out there, everyone on the outside is going to be even harsher on him.
So let's just state TA's career so far. Like I said, he was a mainstay in a defense that was injury ravaged last year. The defensive line couldn't get sacks. It couldn't get pressures on quarterbacks. Quarterbacks had 6-7 seconds to throw last year, and he's been asked to play man coverage more than anybody else on a team that's obliterated on its defense. You're asking all that of him more than anyone else in the league. And now he's in his second year, and he's playing zone, which he's not played before. And you're asking him to just adapt to that in 3 games and go, yes, he's going to be excellent. Like, TA has not been put in a position to succeed so far at all. Like, he has been thrown to the wolves and said, right, lad, go see what you can do with it. You're a first-round pick. Let's see what you can do. I know there's this chatter that people are saying that Dan said that we're going to see maybe a bit more of Meek over Terrion, etc., but if only for the fact you let Terrion just get out the fire a little bit. Like, just reduce his snaps, put him in more favourable situations, allow him to get his confidence up, and allow him to be the player that he can be. He has not been put in a position to succeed at all. Like you said, the story around a player matters. Last year, defense ruined, and you're asking him to just stand up in man coverage against some of the best receivers the NFL has to offer. And Carlton Davis did get hurt for parts of last year as well, so he's the standout guy. And now he's learning the other scheme in the NFL. We just can't expect miracles with him. And 3 years. 3 years is what you give players, especially corners. Like, you've got to keep with him. Withdrawing him now, saying we're not happy with you is not fair on him when they've not given him the position to succeed. That's where I'm at with him. And I just think people are going after him unnecessarily because this team is so good that we've always got to have someone to pick on, and he's probably the most high-profile player that we get to pick on at the moment, and it's not always justified.
Yeah, and like the big thing is, I'm just quickly look at PFF. Obviously, he's giving up 17.9 to reception right now. Sauce Gardner, who's seen as the CB1 in this league, well, CB2 in this league, Patrick Sand's obviously number one, 17 yards of reception. He's not this elite guy that everyone loves and is such a great corner, is putting up similar stats to Terry and Arnold.
Sauce got put with DJ Reed in this. Was DJ Reed there with Sauce when he was there? You're in a good secondary. I know the Jets aren't a good team, but you're settled. You're healthy at least. And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't be critical of TA. If you've got your concerns about him, fine. That is fully justified. You can have that opinion. All I'm saying is we need to be a little less harsh on him. Yes, it's all right to have concerns, but we've got to take the wider picture into array with him. We just can't write him off right now. A la people like Mike Payton saying that he should be benched and shit like this last year, and we saw after half a season he got better. Half a season working that man coverage, he got better. Half a season working in this more zonal system, he'll get better. And by the end of the year, like you say, hopefully he's not going to be a liability. He's going to go into next year on this JMO arc where he breaks out. You've just got to stick with him. So, that's where I'm at with TA right now. Again, there are some issues, but let's just kind of roll it back on him a little bit and, let's understand what he's been through to the point in his career so far. If he'd been playing with Sauce Gardner and Pat Surtain every week and looked terrible, I get that. So, but anywho, outside of that, Branch, Kirby, these guys, the secondary, again, undersung. I thought they were very good, and when Lamar himself says the secondary's coverage was so good, I just couldn't throw at them. And kudos to Lamar, to be fair. People think Lamar's sometimes a bit gung-ho and, a bit turnover worthy, but sensible head on his shoulder. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. He didn't go after them. If the coverage was good, he just let it be. But defensively, we end there. That's great. But Kelvin, obviously, we have to talk about to end this. I don't think I've seen a Lions defensive coordinator who adjusts the way Kelvin does to games. I think he legitimately watches these plays at the starts of drives. He goes in at the half and he just sits there watching, working out something with his coaches and going, this is wrong, we changed this. Twice in a row now we've seen our team be gashed in a first half. I'll say gashed, we've given up multiple touchdown drives and they've moved the ball on us fairly easy for the most part. And we said this on thing, we're like, Shep's going to adjust, and we're going to look better in the second half, and we did. What he did in this game, the way he played it was perfect. He kind of got felt out a little bit, felt the lay of the land, responded, and they had nothing. Yeah,
they're 100%. So even some of the runs they had in the first half, so the big Derrick Henry run, that was I think his touchdown, that's just one poor run fit from one of the linebackers and he's gone. But did the adjustments, as you said, so using a bit more of that keeper spikes. We did use it a bit in the first half, but there was second half, there was times you could clearly see one of the linebackers sitting there. The adjustments he made, that's something we have not seen at all so far in my Lions fandom as far as I can remember. That was the big thing about Glenn, was something not be working in the first half and did nothing to change it in the second half, and it was just more the same. Maybe that's one thing that Shep kind of coming from where he has, going up under this and maybe being a bit more plugged into the fan discourse, shall we say, because I know he's very active on his social media. It's very good. I love it. He knows, and he makes the adjustments. He can see that something's not working. He changes it up. He mixes things up. He puts people in different positions. So God knows why we didn't start AQ when he was supposedly taking a lot more snaps, but the adjustment of, okay, so it's not working here on the edge, Derrick Henry's getting a bit free, Lamar's still got time to throw. Right, let's put AQ in there, see what happens. Using Tyler Lacey sometimes at the 4-eye over Pat O'Connor, who, as much as he's a kind of literal bank average player at that position, just wasn't working for him. The athleticism we're going up against was putting him at a disservice. Let's put the Tyler Lacey in, who's not as experienced, hasn't got as many snaps in the league, but has got a bit more athleticism, and you suddenly see a pick-up on the performance of the defense. All these things that he does, there's still a few things to work out. Some of the sort of stuff with the coverage of the tight ends, especially, sometimes the drop backs were a bit too far. So there was a couple of plays where like the tight ends were getting. There was a massive gap between. I think it was like Anzalone and Kirby for a couple of them. That needs to tighten up. But yet the adjustments, it's so nice to see that. Yeah, there's actually coaching staff that kind of listens to us in inverted commas and sees stuff isn't working and isn't too proud of themselves to stick out something, beat their head against a brick wall.
Exactly.
They actually go and do something else, and they try and figure things out. And yeah, sometimes it's not going to work. But a lot of the time, it does work. Going back to week 1, which is seen as a shit performance by a load of people. For fucking most of that game, we held their run game in check. It's that Jordan Love was managed to get free on the coverage. We have still, even when we're shit, there's still things you can look and say, right, we did this well, we could build off it, this change X, Y, and Z, and everything will get better, and it happens.
I think there's a reason why Dan loves Kelvin so much, and I think that's because Kelvin is Dan, and you hit on it there, his ability to understand his limitations, and his ability to admit when he's wrong, and to make those adjustments, and he's not too proud. I tweeted, 2 or 3 years ago now, there are 2 guys in this world I would run through a brick wall for, Dan and Kelvin, and I think it's just because they are that way inclined, and, he is, and sometimes, again, in a chess match, he's not afraid to let his opponent take their best shots first to discover just how powerful they are and what he can do to counteract that, and that sometimes is a smart way to work. Just let them hit you, and then see what they've got, and then be like, okay, I can take this, I can do something with it. But he's been tremendous, and he's going to be a head coach one day. I think we all, every Lions fan loves Kelvin, like, more than any position coach, I think, in some time. Maybe Hank accepted, but Kelvin's obviously got the brains, and he's perfect for Detroit because no one else saw him as a future head coach or a defensive coordinator, or was going to give him that chance. He is taking Dan's path forward. Now a lot of people are talking about him when no one was. Everyone goes, "Oh, Aaron Glenn's gone." We've heard all about Ben Johnson and the disrespect towards Morton. We've heard nothing about the disrespect shown to Kelvin. No one's talking about Kelvin after Aaron Glenn, saying Aaron Glenn was this mastermind. He wasn't for a long time, and Kelvin's already showing attributes that Aaron Glenn never showed in his time here. I'm not disparaging Aaron Glenn, but he is an upgrade. I think he's working with what he's given. He's doing this without his star edge rushers and his star defensive tackle and one of his star linebackers. I think that's what I love so much about Shep, is just how humble he is and the way he is. He's Dan Mark II.
Yeah, so I was record a lot of times in this podcast saying that Aaron Glenn will be a better head coach and defensive coordinator. So far, the Jets are currently 0-3. That's bearing fruit. That's the good thing about it, though. Shep is already shown to be a better defensive coordinator while he's learning the head coach stuff. Like, I think way back to Hard Knocks, when there's all the stuff of him in the linebacker room they've just drafted Malcolm, and he's turning around to all these veteran linebackers like Jamie Collins and saying, like, what the fuck's going on? I might actually have to play this guy we just drafted in the 6th round because you guys aren't doing your fucking jobs.
Yeah.
He's got that there, and he is getting, as I think there's been alluded to by quite a lot of the things, Danny's already starting to put some of the stuff on his plate that he does with some of the other ones, while he doesn't have the assistant head coach role, because that's currently still with Scott Montgomery, rightfully, because that Shep has taken that path from being a linebackers coach and just doing that, and then slowly things added to his plate and added to his plate. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe not this season, because
I think we've got him 2 years. I think we've got him 2 years.
We've got him for 2 years, but then by then we'll have the next succession plan sorted out. Whether it's Sean Dion Hamilton, who again, player that's gone from literally being in our training camp in the first year of this regime to now our linebackers coach. If it's him, if it's Deshaun Townsend, who was getting defensive coordinator interviews for the 49ers last year. I know they've gone back to Robert Saleh, but we've got those sort of pathlines there that this is what's going to happen now. We might see some more in the offensive side of the ball. John Morton probably isn't going to go for head coaching role, but Hank, if he wants to move on, he could. Scotty Montgomery, if he wants to try his hand at a head coaching job or offensive coordinator job in the league, he can. We've got these sort of things coming through. That's what we want to see. But your Shep, it used to be, but that'll be him and give it to Ben. Obviously, that's been and gone. Ben can do whatever the fuck he wants now. Go and have fun. If, as I mentioned earlier, and I know people are saying it as well, if there ever has to come a time where Dan has to step away from being the head coach, we've still got Shep here, you just give him the keys.
Exactly.
Just give him the keys, and all this stuff. I know, who was it? Colton Pouncey for the Athletic, the PC did a couple of weeks ago about the culture in this team and how it's built. Sheila, Chris Spielman, Brad will not have to fucking worry about us missing a beat if Shep has to step in for head coach. Even if it, say, Dan's got a raging fucking hangover from going from a Metallica concert and he needs to cover being head coach for the day, Shep can do that. I have no distrust in that at all.
Exactly. So, yeah. Shep is awesome. The defense was great, and we'll end the defense there. We need to get through these last few questions and special teams and the other games. It's 20 to 2 in the morning here again. We're here for you at the latest of times. Special teams, obviously Jack Fox, amazing. Jake Bates kicks like a horse, tackles like a linebacker. The one point in the game that no one, talks about, that Rasheen Ali, punt return that he was about to house. Jack Bates down low, shoulder first, takes him down at the halfway line. That drive ends in a turnover, but saved 7, potentially a game-altering outcome there. Wonderful for him, but special teams as a whole is still a concern, right? Penalties, bad coverage on return. This is something that's plagued us since off-season. If there's a negative to be had to this game and something that might cost us down the line, we've equated it to, an elite baseball team having a bad bullpen. You get the feeling right now that special teams is a dodgy bullpen which could blow a game for you in a very tight situation. I don't know what you've seen from it or whatnot, but it's still struggling right now.
Yeah, I posed the question to Product Detroit on their mailbag. I don't know if they answered it because I listened to the first couple of questions and I had to leave because I was at the gym and I needed to shower so it didn't stink. Hopefully one of these days they'll answer it. I have asked it since literally the Hall of Fame game because that's how long this has been going on. I don't know what's happened over the off season, but our coverage has just gone to shit. It's missed tackles, it's not taking the right things. Maybe we need to change up the blocking scheme. Maybe it's changing up who's on the actual team so we can get better things. But right now, the coverage ain't there. I know, obviously, with the kickoffs as well. I know Fox had Bates had the great tackle. Not seen that anyway. He hasn't even practiced tackling, supposedly. He's just that good at it. But there's obviously the kick out of bounds as well, which I know we're trying to go for one thing in the sort of game script, and it goes slightly wrong. He kicks out of bounds, but that's twice he's done it in 3 games now where he's kicked out of bounds. And I know a load of kickers around the league right now having the struggles. I'm not suggesting move on from Jake Bates at all, but it's maybe seeing what happens in practice and, not putting him in a situation where now he's kicked out of bounds twice in the game. Let's see if we can find another way to do those kind of things that's not risking that anymore. And I hate to disparage him as well because we love Khalif. Again, he's just going too much east-west on the punt returns and not enough north and south. Maybe it's, again, changing the blocking scheme in front of him, seeing what he sees and what we can do to maybe get him some of those lanes. But quite a lot of the time, it's going east and west. And then it's epitomised in this game where he takes one of the punts and he could have easily let it bounce into the end zone for a touchback. He tries to return that. And then the next one,
he lets bounce at the 2.
Yeah, he lets it bounce at the 2, and then he makes no effort to pick it up. And then we start the 2, and we get the 98-yard drive. There's just something not right there. But for all the bad we've just said about the special teams,
we found a kick returner. We found a kick returner.
We found some kick returners exactly like Jacob Saylors. He's not exactly busting the big ones like Rasheen Ali and that did, but we finally, for all respect to Grant Stewart, finally saw that the experiment wasn't working. Yes, Stewart was getting around league average, but do you want to settle for league average? I think our kick returns went up 2 yards per return on the average better on Monday than there were so far this season, with Sailors and Varkey back there. Yes, I know Varkey's now done his groin, so might have to start playing around with a couple of things. Craig was inactive. Craig's done kick returns before. Can easily slot him in there. At least that gives me a bit of confidence, and that's why I made a laugh at joking it when we saw it at the start of the game where it was Sailors and Varkey back there. And I have, all the stuff we just said about Shep. I have all the faith in the world in Dave Fit because he is one of the best special teams coordinators in the league. Wherever he's been, there's been good special teams, and that's been our calling card. Like, it's caused stuff between me and you where, like, I've always said, we need this X, Y. Special teams is the 1-2% that can win you games. It's not being that for us right now, and we need to knuckle up because, it could easily bust a return touchdown, and suddenly we're 7 behind. We're behind the 8 ball. Yeah, we need the coverage to work out because that can help so much. If then Jack Fox, but I know he's been good so far in the thing, but he can take his next level. He can trust his coverage. And Bates, he doesn't have to do all these weird kicks that might draw him out, all these penalties kicking out of bounds. If you can trust the guys doing the kick coverage, because we've given up like the Rashid Ali kick return that Bates has to make the tackle on. He doesn't have to make a tackle if we actually cover it well and we stop him within 20 yards.
It needs better, but at least the offense and defense are firing. You get them two first. We know Fipp will work it out, so special teams is still a concern, but hey, ho. A few other concerns to note. Turnovers, points from turnovers, still not good enough. 3 points off 2 turnovers for issues there. The DBs continue to drop interceptions. Anzalone, Branch, they all need to spend time with Amon-Ra St. Brown on the jugs machine and start catching things, but their things will go along. I need to just move on to a couple of other points because again we've had a lot to break down here. There's one guy we haven't mentioned, Dan Campbell. Campbell gets no love as a head coach from outside of Detroit around the league. Dan Campbell is going to revolutionise the way coaching is made in football, and I will use that term, revolutionise it. His philosophy on fourth downs, on going for broke, on being aggressive. We said, right, if you want to go to Baltimore and win, keep Lamar Jackson off the field. Why'd you do that? You go on fourth downs, you go on third downs, you be aggressive. 3 of 3. We've seen a 5-year program where in the first few years they went for fourth downs so much that he implicitly said to them, I trust you guys and I am going to make this as hard for you as physically possible. And there are a lot we didn't used to get, but what has it done, Ash? It has put them into a position where their head coach fully believes in them. They go out into a fourth down situation. I don't know about you. I feel like they're going to convert every single fourth down they ever go and play, and that is the big thing. That is the big thing. Coaches are going to look at Dan Campbell and the way he plays and go, maybe that's the way football's going to be played in the future. And instead of being this meathead around the league people say can't coach, he's on his 3rd offensive coordinator, his 2nd defensive coordinator. This team is still his. The philosophy is still his. And without his 2 guys, he went to Baltimore and kicked their ass because of the way he plays football. Dan Campbell is revolutionising the game of football, period, and people need to start accepting this.
Yeah, and it's no better summed up by a random cartoon that I've seen on Instagram this morning. That's the old meme with, like, obviously Dan Campbell and his big onions in the South Park style, but it's Dan Campbell and Jared Goff sitting at a bar table, and they're drinking beers and all having a laugh. And Dan Campbell's got his nuts in a wheelbarrow, and it cuts to the actual bar, and there sits Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh, and John Harbaugh's like, oh, there, 12 o'clock. Look at the size of those melons and all that, and it's taking the piss because we kind of sort of knew the game was won when Baltimore were 4th and 9 at their own 32. There was about 4 minutes 20 seconds left in the game, and they were 7 points down. What does John Harbaugh do? Trots out Jordan's down, and they punt to our 30.
Plays the
analytics. And it went out of bounds. Exactly. What was it? The next gen stats thing said that Dan went for it in like all the fourth downs and made the correct analytical decision, and that, you know, the meathead who's so emotional and is so out of tune with proper analytics football is the one guy who consistently goes for it, and is a computer cowboy who does all this analytics stuff as well. I think the Lions so far this season are the 3rd best team in terms of points not given up from kicking field goals in certain when they should go for it situations. we are consistently at the top of these things. And yeah, it is forcing other things. We've seen it happen to the NFC North coaches now, where last week Ben feels like he has to go for it in the fourth downs because he knows we will, so we've got to keep pace with us. And last year, week 18, where Kevin O'Connell goes for it on fourth downs because he knows he has to keep pace with us and it doesn't work. Matt LaFleur, that's the thing. And yeah, initially it was born out of, well, we're so bad that we need to teach our players to win, and this gives us the little edge over the LA Rams when we went through it and did all the onside kicks back when you could actually do onside kicks properly. All these things, and it did give us that little edge. And now it's born into, we've got better players than you, motherfucker. We're in a situation where we know we can convert, try and fucking stop us. And they couldn't.
Yeah. You're getting requests to show the cartoon, by the way. So if you've got a link to it, will you put it in the chat? Will you put it in the chat for everybody? But yeah, Dan, and yes, William, I know that Sheila and Brad are trailblazers as well. This is not a slight on them.
Yeah.
But Dan is the one who sets the tone of this team. He is the one who sets the mentality and the culture, and we saw that, the famous one was the Ravens against the Bills. Remember when they punted late in the Bills game? They wouldn't let Lamar go for a 4th and 1 or something like that. And you're like, Brad lets Jared Goff go for 4th and 6s, 7s and 8s, and people say he's a mid quarterback. So why would you, with an elite quarterback, not go for anything that's shorter than 4th and 10 if our mediocre quarterback can convert 4th and medium so much? Like, it's just a hypocrisy at this point to say he's not good. And you've got to give Goff the credit as well. He's mentally strong enough to go into these situations and be like, yeah, let's do it, guys. And they pull out all sorts out of their books and they look tremendous. But it all comes down to Dan. And Dan sets this. And Dan has built that level of trust with his team that I don't think any other head coach in the league has with his team when it comes to clutch situations. So there you go. The other issue we need to mention before we move on to the other games, because we've been going a long time now, the refs. The refs were absolutely atrocious in this game. Everything from the Arnold DPI call to the Branch low hit. There were a few other bad ones in there as well. And at critical junctures in the game which affected us and seemed to keep Baltimore hanging around in this game. Like, they were some very bad calls from a very bad team, but as Dan has said previously, and there's been many games we've had rights to complain about the refs and game-altering calls they've made. He just says it very simply, doesn't he? Take them out of the game. Keep playing.
Exactly.
Keep fighting hard. Overcome those mistakes or whatever and take them out of the game. And despite the refs doing their blatant hardest in their game to keep Baltimore hanging around, this team just looked like it didn't bother them in the slightest. They're like, alright, you're going to call that, whatever, we're just going to turn them over anyhow, etc. But the refereeing performance was unacceptable, and to add on to this, they're not protecting our star player. The Detroit Lions today, thanks to Dan on Lions Talk Live, filed a grievance with the league to say how Aiden has been targeted low. They're dirty. A guy who's just coming back off a broken leg, and 3 teams now in a row have multiple video evidence of them going after our star edge, and there's nothing been done about it. The refs in this game were absolutely atrocious, and yes, we did make them not matter, but like, we've got to worry about if this is going to be a continuing trend.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know it was mentioned in the pre-game broadcast that we were doing something like that, where we were gonna sort of file the grievance, and he showed all the stuff, and he showed that obviously there was the big chop block on Hutch from Darnell Wright in week 2, but then week 1, obviously they showed some of the stuff from the Packers game as well, where they were just going low on him. And I know you want to take our best player out of the game in inverted commas and make sure he doesn't have an impact, but come on, this is you're going up against a team. Well, I know we have the reputation of doing that. The whole thing with fucking Kirby a couple of years ago, where I suppose he goes for people's ACLs. Pot calling the kettle black if they start doing it to us. Like, I know it's not a sort of, that's the kind of mentality they might have, where it's like, God, well, you're doing it, so we should as well. No, like, you're just no better than us, and you're becoming the exact thing you're moaning about. You're supposed to be the chosen one. Instead, you've turned to the Sith. To quote fucking Harvey Dent.
Star Wars reference in there.
He did. Or to make a Dark Knight reference in there, and I'm not going to put. It's not the Bane reference. They lived long enough to see themselves become the villains. And fair play, and hopefully, even if it's just okay, we'll keep watching it, and it actually fucking flag shit on him, because it wasn't just him in this game. There was the one. What was it that I said about Anzalone and one of the big passes? He was getting hooked so fucking much. It was like he was a sample bear at Build a Fucking Bear.
Yeah.
Like we have. I've got to look. I'll look up quickly.
We need to do the Bane voice for refs. You were not born with the bad ref calls. I was born with the bad ref calls. I was built through it. I was moulded through the bad ref calls.
So,
and as Aaron says, the branch penalty was insane.
Exactly.
Get out of here with that.
So the Ravens had 3 penalties that were accepted on them for 10 yards. We had 8 for 68 yards.
And this is not what's been salty. This is not what's been salty. Genuinely, you can look at those penalties and say, well, even one of them, who was it? The branch hit. The commentator nearly laughed and goes, what's wrong with that? Sorry, no, it's the rules analyst they brought in. He laughed and said, what's wrong with that? That's when you know the rules analyst is coming on going, yeah, they screwed up there big time, because usually the rules analysts try and play impartial, but the refs were disgusting, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter, thankfully. So, yeah, Lions win 38-30 at the Ravens. The last question I have for this before we go on, what does this do for our season now? Because I feel like I thought we'd go to Baltimore and win, but we went to Baltimore and I will say it dominated. That garbage time touchdown meant really nothing. We dominated them. To me now, this season takes on greater importance, because for that win to mean something, it feels like for me now to legitimize that, I've seen a team now that can go all the way, and if you go into the playoffs and get bounced in the wild card or something, I'd be very disappointed now. Like, my expectations for this team and what they've just done to one of the AFC's finest is like, I think they can reach a Super Bowl. Now I'm like, they definitely need to reach a Super Bowl because of the far-reaching consequences of it. I think that's how important the win is to this team. I think it has legitimised us genuinely as a Super Bowl contender, and we should be aiming for as such this year now.
Yeah, so I know I mentioned him earlier, but one of the reasons I do follow that franchise guy is because he's good for the sort of broad NFL things. He released his power rankings yesterday. Listening to it on the way home from my aunt, just going to check some stuff with her. And we're back into the Super Bowl contenders tier, admittedly below, so it's below the Ravens, below the Bills and below the Eagles, but yeah, we've ranked 4th. We are there. I think everyone's kind of understood now that week 1 was just a blip, getting used to some new pieces of offensive line, new coordinators, giving them a week to bed in. We're back up there, and we're just going to get better. As you said, Lee McNeil, when he comes back, suddenly there's the interior fucking penetrator we needed, and it'll mean we can play less DJ Reed and all that. Malcolm coming back, there's another good linebacker. Davenport, when he comes back, okay, yeah, he's injury prone, but hopefully by then we'll bedded it in, so then you could have him, AQ, and Hutch all rotating there, kept fresh. We're only the trajectory right now is only going to go up, hopefully, touch wood, barring injuries. And yeah, I know obviously the team is still lacking a bit of the nous of winning in the playoffs. So if we do come up against Philadelphia in the championship game, I wouldn't be surprised to see us not heavily favoured, like sort of Philly maybe getting 6-7 points, kind of like how Ravens coming into favourites coming into this game. But we can do it, and. Yeah, if we as much as I love to say it's all well and good saying, oh yeah, we got to an NFC Championship game, but we fell down that hurdle. Here's the final one of the final ticks on the Ash bingo card for this podcast to bring to English football. Sometimes, because when you've got into this kind of thing now, it's been a couple of years, you've been consistently good, you need to start actually winning stuff for it to matter.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to bring in my English football team in here, so with us. We've been consistently good in the Premier League for the last couple of years. We need to win the Europa League this year. We need to win the FA Cup this year. We need to actually get silverware, because it means no one, when you look back in 10 years' time, is going to be like, oh yeah, this team was really good, but they don't remember the teams that are really good. They only remember the ones that win.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you go down as legends. That's how Blackburn over here became legends. That's how King Leicester came down legends. Wigan 2012, who got relegated that season, but they won the FA Cup and now against the juggernauts of Man City.
Yeah.
The Eagles, when they beat the Eagles, when they went on the run with Nick Foles, they remember because they won the Super Bowl. Would anyone fucking remember that run if they stumbled at the FC Championship game?
No.
I don't think so.
No. We've set the marker now. We've shown we can do it.
Yeah.
And we've kind of removed any excuses out of the equation now, like, new O-line, all this. No, we've shown we can beat an AFC favourite. We should be able to beat anyone if we can beat Baltimore. So, big legitimising win for the Lions, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And that is the end of our Ravens-Lions preview. We will very quickly go through the other games, but it's 2 a.m. here, so we're going on. Thursday night football. Bills beat the Dolphins. Mike McDaniel going to get fired very, very soon. Vikings bludgeoned the Bengals 48-10. If the Vikings can do 48, we can do 60, right, in a couple of weeks.
We don't have Isaiah Rodgers though, so Brian Branch. You've seen what Isaiah Rodgers has done. Better that. Make it free.
Yeah, Grand Isaac. I'm gonna level with you. We don't know the Gridiron Fight song, so we cannot sing that for you. Matt can when he's back from Montenegro. We will see if he can. I'm not doing a college stream tonight. No, it's 2 a.m. We're doing it tomorrow. College stream. Matt's on holiday, so I'm having to organise all these shows at the minute around my job. It's impossible to get it all organised on time, but I'm doing my very best, and hopefully you are all enjoying this. Jaguars beat the Stroud 17-10, and there's a rot setting in with the Texans. They don't look good this year, and the Jags still don't look that much better either, but the Strouds are in a lot of trouble this year.
Yeah, everyone knew going into the offensive line just wouldn't be it. It's worse than that, and I'm like a big Blake Fisher fan, and even it's just not living up to it. And the defense, it's doing what it can, but it's just not doing enough. Like giving up 17 points to Trevor Lawrence when the week before him and his head coach having arguments on the sideline, and Brian Thomas Jr. was making business decisions. I don't know. Was your rookie CJ Stroud a mirage?
Yeah,
I really don't want to say yes, but that's starting to creep in now. Was it just you had a good rookie year when you were kind of shocking to the league and the Texans shocked everyone? It's gone downhill since then.
I think it was the worst season they could have had, because I think it fired their expectations way above where they should have been in the build, and now they're regressing to mean, where if they'd have been that way without having that season, they'd have been fine. But because they did so well so early, like, everything seems worse now. But yeah, the Strouds are struggling, and T-Law still doesn't look good. However, the Colts and the Titans, the Colts 41, the Titans 20, and Gridiron Heights, with the best named character in history for them, Indianapolis Jones, the Crusader. I absolutely love it. Indianapolis Jones has rediscovered himself there, and absolutely crazy. The Colts punter had his first punt of the season this week. At the rate he's going, it's going to take him 279 games to do the amount of punts that Tory Taylor has had to do in one season with the Chicago Bears. That is a full career as a special teamer. That is getting up to level. 279 games he's going to need to play until he reaches there. But
Kim.
We can't say the Colts this season form, and yes, they're playing a shitty schedule, but they look fantastic, and Indianapolis Jones is doing the job for them.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, poor Dable. That's all I'm gonna say. This poor guy, you couldn't make it work with him, and now he's gone somewhere else and he looks good, and it's the same with all these. Oh, that guy is. I know, obviously, as Grandizer put in our chat that the Dolphins owner's come out and said he likes McDaniels. He's probably not going to fight. Dable is starting to, he's gonna maybe get fired soon, and Indiana Jones, he's looking vindicated, and poor Anthony Richardson. That's another one of the articles Mike Payton's part of this week is the Lions should trade for Anthony Richardson and blah blah blah. Yeah, even me, the biggest Anthony Richardson apologist in the draft class, and that's me saying that as a Florida State fan, so I should fucking hate Anthony Richardson.
There's the bingo card for Florida State. There we go.
There we go.
I thought, New York and Florida State reference. Why are we not saying Jameis Winston going into the FSU Hall of Fame? That's the obvious reference there. So
no. That's that. Oh, we've already mentioned the Bengals game. That's the one that I've seen. I've seen Winston trade with the benching of Russell Wilson. Yeah. Russ becomes QB2. Winston's QB3. Trade Winston to the Bengals.
We'll see if the Colts. We'll see if the Colts are for real. Speaking of quarterbacks who are not needed on their team, Commanders dropped a 40-burger on the Raiders with Marcus Mariota behind center. And how cooked are you as an organization if Marcus Mariota-led offense can drop 40 on you? And thanks Raiders for wasting Ashton Giante, my first pick in fantasy football. I'm retiring this year. I don't care anymore. They're ruining him. But Mariota still got some legs on him.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I know he was the best QB against when kept clean this week. You know, he can deal. Very good signing for them. Obviously, I know they had him last year as well. Keep him in house, steadied his ship. I do hope Daniels comes back because stupid me, out of the 3 fancy teams I'm in this year, Daniels is my QB1 in 2 of those, so I'm fucked if not, especially since the other one is a super flex league, so I might have to start Jordan Love, which, as we might come into in a minute, won't be the worst, but it's no Daniels. But I'm with you on Giante because I also took him in one of my other leagues, and what is his stat? He's got 1 more yard about
Please don't.
After contacts than he actually has rushing yards.
Please don't. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's stupid, like... Obviously, it's a general discussion for maybe another time, but what the fuck has happened with rookie running backs this year? Like, usually running back is the nice one where you can just come in and hit the ground run, theoretically, like, pardon the pun, but actually hit the ground running. None of them have been good this year. Like, the only one that's been good is someone we'll come on to in a minute with the Giants this week and cross-rookie merit in the week 1. Rookie running backs really haven't been it this year. Hopefully that changes with some of the stuff like Hampton and Scatterboo now getting their chance.
Yeah.
But what the fuck?
I don't know. I've no idea whatsoever. And speaking of not being good, the Atlanta Falcons shut out by the Carolina Panthers 30-0. Bryce finally getting the love he deserves. I mean, the Falcons went all in on this thing with Kirk, with Penix. How do you recover from a result like that? Getting a 30-burger dropped on you by the Panthers and getting shut out, and Penix looking like penis. I had to make that joke. My thing for the NFC South, the Panthers might do it this year. I know it's the first win, but they're the emerging team. The Falcons are in freefall.
Oh yeah, 100%. And what does Raheem Morris do? Oh yeah, it's just one bad game by Mike. We're not going to turn to Kirk just yet. What? Like, just...
Trust
I don't know,
him
like,
or don't trust him.
Exactly. And what, like, has been shut out by the Panthers as well. Like, I know a couple of Panthers fans, and they know their big issue right now is the defense. And you're shut out by them.
Yeah.
Like, what, like... Okay, yeah, Panthers got some pieces. Like, Lathan Ransom likes in his draft pass. Ashawn Robinson, done pretty well. Trayvon Wallace is okay. But you just look at some of the players that are playing for them, and, like, when some of their rookies like making an impact, like Wes Princely and McMillan on their stat sheet, I don't see him. Nick Scouton had 1 tackle and a pass defense.
Yeah.
They're not really getting contributions, and yet you're doing this. And the thing is, they left stuff on the board as well. Had 3 catches on his 8 targets. It could have been a lot worse if they've got that in. And I know Javian Sanders got hurt in this game, so it means that Lions legend James Mitchell is now tight end 2 and potentially tight end 1 in Carolina. Just, it's getting there. Like, Bryce, you're probably not winning comeback player of the year, like I kind of maybe predicted if it was going to be Hutch, but there's still stuff there. Hopefully you can keep chugging along, because I like the Panthers as well. I do really like them. I'd still predict the Bucks to win, but the Panthers, I've got a bit of a soft spot for you when we're not playing you.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the games of the week, the Philly Eagles snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, up 27-26. The Rams have the opportunity for a walk-off field goal, but like one of many teams at the weekend, got their ass blocked, and Jordan Davis, big man, runs it all the way back up the field, 61 yards for a touchdown, saying, "I've not run that fast in my life since the combine," which really tickled me. But, you know, champions find a way to win games by hook or by crook, and the Eagles did that. But the Rams showed a lot of vulnerability in that team this year. That defense, as we mentioned, the starting defense this year, only one of them is not on a rookie deal, or is not in his rookie contract within his first 5 years. It's young, it's got exposure there, there are ways you can get at it. That is positive for the other NFC hopefuls, seeing that this Philly team is beatable, but Rams just couldn't be clutch when it mattered.
Yeah, and just to go back to you, correct you, do you surely you mean NFC Special Teams Player of the Week, Jordan Davis?
Did he get that? Really?
He did. He did.
That's crazy.
He fucking did.
Why the hell did Jake Bates not get it for his touchdown-saving tackle? Man, that's just terrible.
We can't give it to Bates. But the Eagles, the way they pulled it out, they fucking remembered they had AJ Brown and they actually started passing to him.
They did. They were down big in this one. They were like 26-7 down in this, and the Rams didn't score in the second half of the game. Or was it after the first drive of the third quarter or something like that?
Yeah, they got that Kyron Williams pass, and then it was Dallas Goedert for a 30-yard pass, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and then obviously the bit of the thick kick return, shall we say?
They should. There. Where's Harrison Mevis involved in this?
Oh God, please! Yeah, someone should bring him in. Like all these guys getting tryouts with all the kicker shit going on right now. Bring him back in. I miss Harrison Mevis. But yeah, like Eagles had, and this is coming out the words of Jason Kelsey here, some of the worst play ever from Philadelphia Eagles in recent history in this game, and yet they still managed to win, which is scary in a way, because it shows kind of like us where we can get down bad and maybe put ourselves behind a ball but can still win. But yeah, showed a lot of vulnerability, and it's something we can play on. Also maybe showed that the Rams aren't going away, that Stafford is literally going to carry this team on his back when he needs to. I know he didn't even cross 200 yards here. Kyron Williams had a good day on the ground, but when he needs to will a team sometimes, especially in that first half he could do it, but maybe it's also showing that he does need pieces around him now. He does need a bit of help. He can't do it all himself. This is not 2017, 2018 Stafford where he was doing all his game-winning drives.
No.
He needs help, and the Rams just didn't give it to him, which is sad because I love the Rams defense, because their defensive line's basically all some of my favourite players in their draft classes. So,
and mentioning Jason Kelsey, I'm beginning to hate the man so much now. He was in the Baltimore band. What has Jason Kelsey got to do with our game with the Ravens? Like, that was just a cheap ass PR stunt. He does the
Monday night countdown, and he actually played saxophone.
It's a cheap ass PR stunt. Keep him off my screen. He's in Baltimore colours. You'll know what you were doing. Right, I'm just going to list the other games out because we're at 2.25 hours here, so we're late on, and then we can mention any games you want to. Steelers beat the Patriots 21-14. We're going to come to this one at the end, so we do want to talk about that. Aaron Glenn very hurtfully denied his first win in charge of the Jets. Bucks ran down a late field goal for them to win 29-27, and that's the second heartbreaker the Jets have had in their 3 games in charge. Chargers took down the Broncos 23-20 as they begin their good start to the season. Seahawks rinsed the Saints, and I'm now convinced the Saints are picking number 1 overall next year, 44-13. The Bears beat the Cowboys, who might be challenging them, 31-14. 49ers beat the Cardinals 16-15, and again I started Kyler Murray over Justin Herbert. I deserve what I get in fantasy at this point. And the Chiefs beat the Giants 22-9 to register their first win of the season. But Ash, what a great way to finish off our show, having talked about beating the Baltimore Ravens so much, to talk about the Cleveland Browns beating the Green Bay Packers and knocking the smug smile off all those cheeseheads' faces. I mean, the Browns didn't score a point in this game, pretty much. They had no offense whatsoever. This game was dead and buried, and their defensive line brought victory from the gaping jaws of defeat. They were in the middle of the Sarlacc pit. They were halfway through the Sarlacc, and they somehow managed to, Star Wars reference, drag their way back out of it.
Yeah. Remind me, is this the Jordan Love that consistently ranks above Jared Goff in a load of QB lists? Because what the fuck was that interception?
To Grant Delpit. Right to Grant Delpit.
Right to fucking, like, what the fuck was he thinking? And that's the thing, like, yeah, the Browns were keeping themselves in it. That defense, as we'll get on to when we do the preview, that defensive line, fucking great. Like, Myles Garrett deserves all the money he got, and yeah, some of the players that I've disparaged over time have kept him in it. But yeah, when sort of the last couple of points, which come all in like the last couple of minutes, comes from a 1 yard rushing touchdown because 4 yard rushing touchdown because of the interception. You give them that, and then the field goal to win it, which I remember.
A blocked field goal to make a field goal.
Yeah, exactly. Just Rich Bisgayer, who is the Packers special teams coordinator. You might remember him from being the interim head coach from for the Raiders a couple of years ago. You know, someone that was seen once upon a time as a good special teams coordinator. The Packers special team strikes again, and what schadenfreude that gave me, because I'm the one that keeps consistently bringing up the ghost of Mason Crosby. It returned again. Mason Crosby will never fucking leave this team. His stench will be there forever, and I love it.
Jeff Hafley must have gone out his mind to keep the Browns to nothing all game on his defense, and then the offense just cock it up for him. Like, that's not on him, but thank you, Cleveland. We appreciate you. Now lay down and roll over like good little boys and beat us and let us beat you this week. But what a fantastic week. What a fantastic game for the Detroit Lions, Ash. It's been wonderful to recap it with you this evening. We have a lot of stuff coming up. Did we miss any questions or anything you wanted to answer quickly? I'll let you get them up. Sorry, go on.
The only ones we had was about the runs scheme, which we kind of answered, and then obviously the stuff about Meek maybe taking more snaps over at Tiedo. I think that's more. I think that was just more. Dan, from what I remember, because I think I've listened to that quote, it's him saying Meek will be playing more, which we saw in this game. We played a lot more nickel than we usually do. It might just be that schematically we've seen a thing where nickel is working a bit better for us than the base formation, etc., etc. Might just be that. So we'll have to wait and see.
We'll see.
The only way we can see.
Yeah.
Well, the only way we can see is obviously wait till Sunday, and then we can see if the Meek plays a lot then.
We'll address it more in the preview. So we've got a ton coming up. Yes, Grandizer, we do love to talk for 4 hours, but not when we start a stream at midnight. We don't like to talk for 4 hours, unless it's a live stream for a game. We'll do it for that, but for the regulars, no. We have a lot of shows to come up, basically. Tomorrow, or today in our ways, will be the college football podcast with myself and Ryan. We will be talking about week 4 of the college football season, looking ahead to week 5, which is an absolute loaded slate at the top of the thing. A lot of big top 25 matchups this week, so join us for that. The Cleveland Browns preview will likely be Friday. I'm trying to get Brett on to do that with us, our resident Cleveland Browns fan. He's had the week of his life, because he didn't think they were really going to win a game this year, and then they knock off the Packers, so he should be in a jolly old mood. We're hoping to do a college football watch-along this week as well. I kind of did earmark the Florida State-Virginia game on Friday night, but we'll see. I am available from the 5 o'clock slate on Saturday, so we might do one for the main slate of games. We'll see about that, but there should be one. And then, of course, the Cleveland Browns. There should be a Cleveland Browns live stream game. I am working a finish on that day, but I should get away about 5 or half 5. So it will probably be very lately organised, but we should be here with the live play-by-play for the Browns game. And then, of course, on the Monday, I think we'll do the review. So we have a lot of shows to come up. Keep an eye on our socials. We'll let you know exactly when they are. Marmarker goes, just my final thought, Lions showing their players they will do all they can to protect them from unfair targeting and ref bias. Yes, they will. Grandizer goes, question, will there be an upcoming pre-game vid this week? Maybe an opposing team's content creator? Hopefully we just answered that for you. Yes, there should be. And we have a Browns content creator who wants us to work with him as well, so we might be on another show as well. That's another one, Max. So yeah, we'll be doing stuff. As I say, I can only do so much when working a full-time job and, all that. So we'll do the very best we can. I hope you've all enjoyed this evening. It is 20 past 2 in the morning here. I'm going to play a bit of FIFA and then go to bed. We appreciate all of you been around with us. I need some food as well because I've not eaten. But yeah, you can find us at Roar of the Lions UK. Just type it in, you'll find us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good sort of stuff as well. Again, thanks Ash, appreciate you being in. It's been good to discuss us twonking the Baltimore Ravens again. I can't get tired of hearing that phrase, us beating the Baltimore Ravens. It has been so good. I really appreciate it. But yeah, we'll see you very soon for college football, for Browns previews, lots more football to come. All of you have a fantastic evening. We shall see you again very soon. Thanks to everyone. One pride. And with that,
one pride and fuck the Packers.
Hook the Packers. Exactly.